Today's episode of the One Piece Podcast is brought to you by Patreon. Subscribe to us on Patreon at patreon.com/One Piece Podcast for One Piece Podcast exclusives, bloopers, outtakes, and a lot more, including our newest video series, Alex and Steve Eat One Piece. Check that all out at patreon.com/One Piece Podcast. On with the show. This is the One Piece Podcast, episode 506 for the week of Monday, February 12th, 2018. My name is Zach.
My name is Ed.
And my name is Steve.
And today we have everyone on the show. Let's start. First, we have the translator for One Piece and Weekly Shonen Jump, Stephen Paul's with us. How's it going, Stephen?
Hey, you forgot something.
What?
Very special guest.
Of course.
Thank you, Ed.
Yes.
Thank you.
Too many people here this week.
That's because we have too many special guests this week. We also have, from Crunchyroll, Miles is back with us. How's it going, Miles?
Crunching a lot of rolls these days. Pretty busy.
I assume that's all you guys do over there.
I hear you're a pretty big wheel over at the Crunchyroll factory.
We got to roll those sushi, I guess. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
The Anime Awards too, which we'll talk about later, I guess. Also, but
sure.
those are happening soon. We have
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's great to have you back, Miles. We also have our editor-in-chief, Kelly, is with us. How's it going, Kelly?
Great, thanks.
And our super secret surprise guest that we weren't expecting to come on until minutes before recording because of 10 feet of snow. We have Greg Werner with us. How's it going, Greg?
Heyo! I am here because of the snow. It is snowpocalypse over here in Fukui. We've made national and international news, and because of that, I get to join you all today. It's a snow day. It's the 8th snow day.
For those who don't watch NHK World, you could actually see Fukui on that, and it's insane. And Greg, you've also been posting pictures on all your social media that I've seen, at least, of just how insane it is there. I mean, not using the metric system, can you explain how much snow is there?
Without snow that's like piled up, I mean, like there. First of all, there are no snow drifts. There's not a wind for that. It's not very windy, and it's also heavy snow. It's like thick, heavy, deep, wet snow. The snow that has fallen, just fallen, is up to my shoulders and even above in the mountain areas.
And Greg is a tall man.
54 inches.
Oh, thank you, Ed.
It is.
Apparently, a week ago, 1,000 cars were stranded.
Oh
Yes, 1,000 cars are stranded on our terrible roads. So I'm happy that now the world knows that Route 8 is the worst road in the world.
Don't worry. I know Jose and Joey aren't here to defend that, but in Atlanta, that would take 1 inch, and you'd have the same issue going on.
Thank you.
I was just about to slag Atlanta too, and Zach just beat me to it. I'm sorry. You're like Canada and South Park. You have like one road. You got to stop that.
Yeah, there's too much traffic in Atlanta. Anyway, we have a One Piece podcast to go through today. We have a manga recap for chapter 894, and I hope you're listening to this at 12:05 a.m. because there's no other time that you should be listening to that manga recap.
If you start listening to the One Piece podcast at 12:05 a.m., I don't. Nothing really takes happens at a certain timestamp. You just listen to it at that time. It's just your choice.
Anyway, we also have an anime recap. Ed, do you know what episode number that's for?
Oh, yeah, it was 825.
And this is the big Sanji and Luffy makeup episode. It looked great from what I saw of it. And that's also available on Crunchyroll, so you can check that out there. We also have some Piece Together and trivia at the end, which I hope some of you guys stick around for.
Oh, I wonder who's going to win this one.
Not the one who's been on 2 game shows about One Piece trivia. Anyway, why don't we get into the show? Are you guys ready?
Mm-hmm.
This is the manga recap for chapter 894, 12:05. Ed, what's going on the first page here?
Saga of the Self-Proclaimed Straw Hat Fleet, Volume 26. Leo, we got hired to be security for the Weatherweek.
That might be the one time where the cutesy Tontada speak might interfere with understanding what's going on.
I had to be very careful. You will notice there's at least one R in there. Yeah, you got to kind of choose your battles with these accents.
Yeah.
This kind of confused me a little bit because I thought the Tontadas were all about secrecy
and being pirates. But okay.
I mean, like, if Oda stays consistent and, like, say if someone tries to, like, snatch, King Riku's, like, wallet and, like, just invisible force just, like, knocks this person on their ass, then that's pretty consistent with the Legend of Tontadas. Other than that, it kind of just feels like Spider-Man in Marvel Civil War, the comic. Just like, oh, hey, I'm Peter Parker. Oh, now we know. It's like, oh, Tontadas, they do exist. That's
it
what they
does
look like.
open up some good spying opportunities at the Reverie, potentially. They are relatively tiny.
And it's also kind of weird how like they're standing on the floor, but then the bottom half of the page is also a close-up. Like,
Yeah.
King
Is
Riku's
that
giving them the
indicating
side
that
eye.
it's a flashback, by the way? I was wondering about this, Steven.
I don't think so, because hasn't he done this with a couple of the other cover pages in the Tontadas sequence? I think he has. It's just it's just one of his things where he shows how they're feeling on the bottom, so you get the nice big close up, but then you can also see what's actually happening on the top.
Only reason I suggest that is because then we are to assume that they were what? They were like on the ship, but they go back to the palace, unless we're supposed to assume that they're now at the Reverie. But I mean, those guards in the back are not Reverie guards. They don't have those domed Tenryubito guard hats. So those look like the Dressrosa guards.
It sounds like he was asking them to do it in this scene.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this scene might be a flashback, but maybe they just went to look at the ship, swim around a little, have some fun, and then, oh, we got called back to the Kings, let's go back there. We have an unforgettable
lunch at 12:05. You got to feel for these regular guards here. Like, well, shit, we don't get to go.
and check out the one that looks kind of like Meadows.
We must be pretty undependable. That's not a word.
Yeah.
Here's force, and this is what I get.
Any other thoughts on I guess the cover story thus far? Is this the last one, or do we have one more? I can't recall. I probably should have looked this up before we started.
I don't know.
Thank you,
We've been
Ed.
with the Tontadas for a while.
We've had at least this at a minimum is at least the third one.
Let's get started with the chapter. Okay. Ed, why don't you start us on the first page of the chapter?
Straight into a flashback. During Luffy's training, he hears Rayleigh say, "No food until you can dodge it 100 times." He says, "But I'm hungry, Rayleigh." "Well, then focus. Is that how it works? Is the enemy going to stop attacking because you're hungry? There's a will to every attack, a presence." And Luffy's like, "I smell something yummy." "Ignore that. It's my dinner." "Over there. Gotcha." He punches the dinner, and Rayleigh is appalled. "Don't just swing at random," and he smacks him with a stick right across the face. He is blindfolded, by the way. He's doing color observation training here.
He's using the force.
I should have done it as Alec Guinness. Anyway. But Luffy's like, that hurt. I sense rage. But Rayleigh says, "Yeah, that's the hockey too. Now dodge this." And Luffy can continue to sense the rage. Not much else, apparently. Shift to nighttime. Crescent moon in the sky. Wolf howls in the distance. The woodland creatures who Luffy has befriended, his Disney princess. And this is canonical. They were his friends back during the time skip too. Like when they did the reintroduction chapter.
Yeah,
as well.
they said he became like the master of the island.
Yeah, I was gonna say they're his friends, like the way that a bully has friends.
Yeah, they're his millhouse is basically how that. Yeah,
there you go.
I brought you a rabbit.
There's a fox who brings him a fish, and a tiger. It looks like a rabbit of some kind. Luffy tells him to get lost with 3 lumps on his head, and he says, I don't need food. Really says I don't get dinner. Then I don't get dinner.
So he goes from 4 lumps on the right side of the page here to 3 lumps on the left side. So I don't know how manga.
One went down. Or actually, yeah.
It's Rayleigh smacked him on top, and then he just bonked one of the lumps back into his head.
That's how that works.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yep.
That's why we have Steven here. The manga physics. Steven.
Yes. Speaking of manga physics, Rayleigh explains the rules of the One Piece universe here as he sips on his flask there. Within the confines of color of observation haki, you seem especially attuned to the emotions of living things, although it's probably unconscious. So we're being told here that observation haki is not just a 1 to 100 thing. Like there are different areas of expertise, and Luffy just seems to have a preternatural ability to sense what other creatures, not just people, are feeling. And having that ability means you can sense the actions another person will take. And Luffy's finally eating his supper here, chowing down. And he's like, yeah. And it looks like he's down to 2 lumps. And Rayleigh points out that among the mightiest in the world, you'll find some who can even see a little bit into the future. Oh, the future. So Rayleigh quizzes him. What do you do if you come across someone like that? 2 years of training isn't going to get you to that level. This is going to be tough. And Luffy interjects. He's like, well, I guess it depends what they're like. And Rayleigh, this is not the answer that Rayleigh was expecting. We get the interrobang, and he's like, what, you mean like their personality? Like, I've never cared about that. Why would you care? And Luffy's like, well, sure I care. He has this hilarious expression on his face, like, why wouldn't you care? And we get this great little kind of transition out of it where we see Rayleigh is laughing at him as Luffy protests, and he's like, you're an odd fellow. But Luffy's saying, you got to consider it because you never know. Whenever you may not have another choice. And we leave the flashback with Luffy concentrating here. He's remembering Rayleigh saying, well, you're setting yourself up for a world of pain, but come on, I'll train you with everything I've got. And then we get the kind of astral, the spirit image here that he is sensing of Katakuri using his fists. And I think some people were pointing out, which I didn't think of at first, but it seems pretty straightforward that this is very similar to what Fujitora was seeing at the end of Dressrosa when the people were rushing after them, and he was sensing they were yelling about Straw Hat, but he was sensing that they were not actually angry, that they were that they were doing it to help cover for him. This image reminds me of that of Katakuri, as well as
seeing Luffy, Law, and Sugar for the first time. And in fact,
Usopp and Sugar, right?
Usopp saw Sugar, Law, and Luffy together.
Yes.
Yep. And that's one of my big article points. I won't talk about all of it here. I'll just tease it. Sorry. But something interesting about there were the differences between these and the one that Isho saw as well. Sorry to interrupt you there, Steve.
No. It's a very interesting thing. It's like a lot of people would probably pass over that, but I think you can glean a lot of information from that. And then we see what it actually looks like in real life with a very similar staging of the picture. Not identical, but you can see what Katakuri is actually doing, and then Luffy is just violently dodging back and forth and evading all of these punches. There's a lot of action going on here. It's a great panel.
Miles?
All right. So Katakuri glares at Luffy, his teeth intense, sticking up halfway through his face, his scars very intense, his tattoo very dark, even though when the color spreads it's pink. And you see Luffy coming at him, and all these different fists flying towards Luffy, and there's a whack sound effect and a swish, and all of a sudden Luffy's face gets pummeled by one of the flying arms with a big gonk. Luffy deflects with a crack. He says oof as he pulls back, and he pulls back his arm, with the zzz, zzz, and cries out in pain. Gak, gak. The fists make a ripple on Luffy's arms as he says "ga" and "g." But not all is lost. However, Katakuri his hardened fist pulls back with a as he begins to announce his attack. Burning, he starts to say as Luffy winces in preparation of the attack. A violent pop fills the air as Katakuri finishes his attack name with the shout of "Mochi" as Luffy looks bewildered. The fist kind of... I don't know what it's doing there, actually. To be fair, I don't know what it's doing there before it goes and smacks into the ground and into Luffy and to everything else. Luffy gets hit with a doom and an oof, he says in response. There's crunching and crashing and the whole world is coming apart.
It's like Voltron. It's a missile punch.
It's a missile punch.
Yeah, it's a little bit. It's almost like glass blowing or something. Like he's kind of inflating it, and then it just sort of bursts and shoots forward. And the name itself, and I called it Burning Mochi because we usually we try to go with the version of the wordplay that matches what you see. But in terms of, if you heard the word yakimochi in real life, it would be grilled mochi. But it doesn't really. It's hard to put that together. And he's obviously doing a flaming attack, so we call it Burning Mochi.
That makes sense.
And,
also, real mochi acts. It's astute that you were wondering what was going on with the hand, because this is how. Look at his hand there, where he's pulling back for the burning. That's exactly what mochi looks like when you heat it up. It's usually eaten a lot around New Year's, and you'll put it on like a grill, and as it heats up, it starts to like bubble up slowly and then become distorted, and then kind of burst out suddenly, just the way this has. So it's I believe that's mochi, and it's carrying his fist, and it propels his fist until it finally releases when we see it with the oof and the doom there. The fist is now fully off of the mochi base and plowing into Luffy.
So is this the same attack he was doing on the previous page?
No, those were the mochi donuts.
Those were just mochi donuts.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is
the first time we've seen yakimochi. Also, yakimochi, Stephen, please help me if I'm using the wrong translation here, but is jealousy?
Yeah, I was trying to think if there was an angle to that I could use, but I don't think it was. Yeah, it wasn't a very straightforward.
It could be like burning desire, like burning mochi. That doesn't work at all.
I don't know.
No. I want to give big props to Miles, who should read the audiobook version of One Piece once that's released. Good job. No. He was preparing. He did a good job. So we go to the next page, and we see the after effects of the burning mochi as we have a kind of almost cell regeneration going on here. Or Piccolo. I mean, take your pick. It happens to a lot of people in Dragon Ball.
Well, Cell stole it from Piccolo.
That's true. I mean, it's the same...
Or Tien in the Ocean dub, depending on which version.
This is literally the only reason Steve's here. And the look of glee on Katakuri's face as he regenerates his arm is I don't even know how to take that. Like I am so satisfied that I blew my own arm off it to someone and then grew it back again. I don't know. Anyway, Luffy's getting up here. He's worse for the wear. The tooth is missing, and nothing could cure it, especially some sort of magical elixir that exists in the real world. Anyway, back to the topic. Luffy literally, I guess, looks like he's steaming out of there, literally, toward Katakuri, and in a speed line close-up, and then we see the punch into Katakuri's jaw, and it makes contact, and it caws the hell out of his face. Caw. It's with a G. Great panel, and great to finally see Luffy land a punch there. And we head to 10:10 p.m. Ed, can you help me out a little here?
10:10 wins.
You give us 22 minutes. We'll give you
Ed. Give you the world.
10:10 p.m.
No,
What?
not that voice. The Capone voice.
Oh, okay. I thought you wanted an Oda box. All right. Yeah, we got the cakes. They can't mess with us. We'll be at the core island very soon. That wasn't so hard. It's thanks to those quick panel repairs. Well done, boys. Thank you, Godfather.
You could do this whole thing right now.
Yeah, that's really good.
No, you can keep going. I'll explain.
No,
what's
that's
happening. There's one more.
That's Vito.
Oh, this is
Isn't
all.
it?
No, I think this is Capone. Vito's only in the other box with
Okay.
Vito in the box. Vito in the box.
Gotcha. At that size, Prometheus ain't the nimblest mount. I don't have a. I don't have.
Yeah,
a
okay, that's all we got. So
Yeah.
as this is all happening,
Just do Joe Pesci.
Yeah, we'll take the cake into the Liquor Island and make your escape, eh?
My cousin Vito.
Oh, the Licky Bandits.
there were
Man,
two good ones
two,
there.
two in like 10 seconds. That's crazy.
Anyway, while this is all going on, we get our look at Liqueur Island. What are your guys' thoughts on the little we get to see here? Anyone?
Well, there's obviously there's no what's it called? There's no martini. A martini glass is kind of the first thing I would think of at a liqueur island. So I'm kind of disappointed there, to be honest.
We've got some nice fruity cocktails, at least.
We do.
We only drink wine coolers.
That's right. I see a Zima bottle now.
It looks very flammable.
Indeed.
I mean, let's hope that I doubt it looks like it's not going to be a plot point, but we'll talk about that more later. Anyway, yeah, Prometheus is struggling behind. Do we know the name of Capone's ship? Or is that anyway?
Not La Cosa Nostra.
Oh yeah,
It's
La Costra Nostra or something like that.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Nostrillo, maybe?
Yeah,
Nostra Castello.
Nostra Castello. Thank you. There you go.
Oh yeah, it just means our castle in Italian. That's all it is.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah, we see them putting away, and we go to the next.
Dudding
page.
away.
Thank you. This is why we have Miles here. Greg.
Sure, I want to pull things back right now to this scene of you're talking about Katakuri doing kind of selling or piccoloing his arm here. WTF, mates? What's up here? He is a paramecia. Why can he do this? What's going on? The only answer I can come up with for this is that well, there are two. There are two. I shouldn't say only. There are two. One is that he doesn't have an arm. Either that or he's concealing his real arm. But it seems kind of boring for Oda to do that because that would go along the same lines as
Treble.
yeah.
I was gonna.
Why would he
ask-
go through the treble of that?
Oh,
Maybe it's just.
I always just assumed that people didn't know as much about devil fruits as we really thought we did. But in the One Piece world, like the accepted knowledge of the One Piece world about devil fruits could just be wrong.
We do know that he is now classified as a special Paramecia fruit, which I think just means that Oda is like, oh, well, I wanted him to be Logia, but then I realized he has to be a Paramecia, so I'm just going to use both powers and pick and choose what I want. So
that is the other explanation, and it is that I don't know if you guys ever went over this, but I talked about the fact that Luffy himself might technically be a special Paramecia if he is able to do these kinds of things that Logias are able to do, because Luffy's body is rubber. He has blood, he has everything, but he's rubber. Everything about him is rubber. It just operates like a normal body. That's very Logia, actually. So I'm wondering if he is the same kind of thing in that he is just mochi. But it's not quote unquote nature related. So anyway, that's kind of a messy thing, but I did want to address that in case there's anything more to it down the line.
Hear me
Move
out.
along.
Hear me out. He's
Got-
an awakened Paramecia type, and he just decided to turn his arm into mochi.
I like it.
That just solves everything.
What you don't.
He's gonna turn
I mean-
buildings into mochi.
God.
But one important thing is, if we're going to go with some versions of the localization, we could see a Gum Gum Hammer smacking Mochi.
Ooh,
Ah.
Ooh.
I like that.
I hope.
I want to see that.
Yeah.
Too bad Carrot isn't there.
Yeah.
Right.
All
Not
right.
yet.
All we need is the moon.
Well,
It's still
Come
out.
on now.
Yeah.
Come on now. All right. So right, we're there's a little bit of discussion. I'm going to paraphrase some of this, but there's discussion about where they should be going now in terms of direction, and they're getting pretty close to Cacao Island. But Chiffon's not too happy with that. She wants to go to Fluffy Island, and they ask, what are you thinking straight? What's going on here? And Chiffon offers that if Mom eats the cake on Liquor Island and she gets herself back, she'll have enough time to go back to chasing Nami's ship. And realistically, as a pirate, they're like, I don't know if this is Capone, but let's say it's probably Capone because nobody else would talk to her like that. And he's like, so what if she does? We got to think about ourselves. We can't last that long. And now we get another look at Mom again after some time has passed. And she is looking more and more like Brule. And she's just crazy, creepy looking. I'm so happy that he's changing her up for like usually the characters go into like a bigger mode for their quote unquote final version. I guess another one unlike that would be Lucci, right? He kind of condenses himself. And I'm happy to see another like a smaller final enemy. She just seems so more lithe and speedy and dangerous this way. And they're saying that she looks starved. And she's like, yeah, of course, yeah. So that's why we should go to Fluffy Island. And they're like, oh, yeah, exactly. Wait, no, were you even listening to me? And the scene flashes back to the battle.
wait. Can we talk about this map first? About these islands?
Sure. I was gonna go back to it, but
Yeah,
absolutely.
please.
Let's do it.
Who's starting with this, Steven?
All right.
Go for it,
So we've got a couple of the usual ones. You got Candy Island, obviously the ones on the icon, not the icons, the captions are all familiar. Fluffy Island, if you don't remember, is that is actually Chiffon's island because she is the Minister of Fluff. I don't know what that actually means in actuality, but I guess we may find out.
Can I first say my favorite part of this map? And that's that it proves that a thing that I eat is indeed a food that should be eaten, and that is ice.
Well, actually, that is probably Ice Cream Island.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
No. I choose to think of it as Ice Island or Ice's Island, Italian ices, I think exclusively.
Shaved Ice Island.
Shaved ice, also good.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, I mean, it's probably anything frozen that Oda can think of. But yeah, they do call ice cream, for shorthand, they call it ice. Now, the two interesting ones here are what looks like Melange or Melence and Dokumitsu. And I think that the first one is supposed to be Melange, and
That's
it's just misspelled for whatever island. Dokumitsu kind of threw me it took me a little while to figure that out, and I think it's actually a joke because okay, so there's what are some of these sweet things that we've seen here, fruit, jelly, okay, candy, biscuits. What's one thing we haven't seen? Honey. And honey in Japanese is hachimitsu, which literally means like bee nectar. But hachi is also a homophone for the number 8, and roku is the number 6. And so, I was like looking up, I was like, what the hell is this? Is like some kind of weird like name of some kind of sugar or something like that. And then eventually,
local delicacy. No.
It just clicked in my head. I was like, oh, I get it. Very clever, very tricky.
I don't get why Roku though. Like, what's the deal with that?
I don't know. I think it was just for the same like rhythm to it.
Okay.
Hachimitsu, Dokumitsu. So there we go. Right. And there's some more. I can't tell what the ones on the top corner are.
Something pie.
It looks like a pie.
Yeah.
Pie.
How pie?
It does look like pie.
That's because Toriyama forgot about him, so they threw him on that island.
And the other one there is really tough because it looks like a B and an A and possibly an R. I'm just, that's what it looks like. But like, that's really hard because you can never tell whether that's supposed to be like an elongated sound. So it could be like ba sound in Japanese, but it could actually be like B-I-R or B-E-R or B-A-R. So that's really hard to tell.
I know. But there you go. There's our study of this map here.
Alrighty, so let's skip through the Katakuri action, and we're going down. We get to see, this is cool. We get to see the clock on board Sunny, and I'm pretty sure this is the first time we're seeing this, folks. Right? I don't recall ever having seen this clock.
Mm-hmm.
I love how there's a dagger in. It says meshi below, which means food. So
shit. We have to we have to touch that up. I did not catch that.
So
that's pretty great.
I guess that's eating time. I guess they eat at what? That's
7?
roughly 7.
Food o'clock. Or maybe it's just like that's the food hour and the dagger's always stuck in it, so it's always food o'clock.
There probably is an SBS that mentions their eating time. I don't remember it offhand, but that probably syncs up if you go through the sleeping time. I think I get the feeling maybe there is an eating time. Anyway, right. So Nami is screaming, "Here it comes again! Transport side Jinbei! Whoa! Whoa! Eek!" And this enormous wave of something passes right by the Sunny, almost takes it right out with a zang. And I guess it's a cutting beam too, because the zang is a cutting sound effect. Zang.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
We're really going through our sound effects today, Kelly.
And now we are going over to Smoothie's ship, and we see her two crewmates yelling, "Smoothly, if you giganticize any further, you're going to sink the ship. They're too slippery." And I guess you can see the blade is wet, so she must have done the slice with that, either in the water or maybe it shoots juice. Who knows? It's "Damn it, Jinbei." And we come back to the Sunny. We have, "Don't relax yet. I'm trusting in your orders." And Nami up in the crow's nest is yelling, "Don't worry, we'll take charge of this." Carrot, who's finally woken up, is, "I wonder if Luffy's won by now. I wonder if Sanji's made it. I'm sorry, I was asleep," which is adorable. Mm-hmm. And Chopper is still super impressed with what she had done earlier and is like, "Little sis, does the same thing happen to Cat Viper and Dog Storm?" referring to the really awesome transformation. And Sanji, we have Brooke saying Sanji should be contacting us as soon as there's any change. And staring at Smoothie going, "I wonder if that woman is a giant." And before I go to the next page, this is the other one where I'm going, what kind of powers do you actually have, Smoothie? Since you apparently can grow and juice.
She's like Violet Beauregard.
Indeed.
Oh, God.
So I'm wondering if this is a Smoothie exclusive trait or a long leg trait, because I'd like to see Cinnamon do the same.
I must add. I must add that it reminded me of the beloved Film Z arc, filler arc from the anime, where the character Lily.
No, don't mention this. It still creeps me out.
What was she a giant, or she could turn giant?
She could turn
either
giant.
way.
My favorite thing.
She could stand on pirate ships and they didn't sink. And I remember Ed calling out on that bullshit years ago. So I'm glad that Oda knows better.
Oh, good. I thought you were going to mention how she got inside of Luffy and then became a giant and made him a giant.
You see, Smoothie is the key to all this. We never had a character as smooth as Smoothie.
Okay.
Most people don't even remember that filler.
I know, but I did.
My
call
favorite,
it the Pirates of the Dark Water filler.
I do, because I think I was on that episode with you guys.
You were. It was. I remember that. I think that was the last anime recap you might have been on, even.
And if we call out Smoothie for getting smoother, would the same line be like, "Cinnamon, you're getting cinnamon
hotter"?
Cinnamon something. Carry on.
No, I was just gonna say that my favorite thing is when a filler arc gets debunked in the manga. So that just makes me happy. Go ahead, Kelly.
Okay. And we are flashing to the fight with Katakuri and Luffy for a couple more panels here, and we see those spurs on his boots. Looks like they actually were grazing his face, or perhaps he's gotten kicked there. And we see Luffy's been knocked down once again. And we're moving around a lot in this particular chapter. And now we are at 11:08 p.m. And we are over the ocean with Sanji and Pudding. Thank you, Pudding. None of this would have been possible without you. And Pudding, as flustered as always, stop that. Eek! Farther, farther, toward the edge, Sanji, dear. They're going to think we're husband and wife. And we have a very panicked Pudding up front with the lub-dub heartbeat sounds and teary eyes and runny nose. And I really like Nitro going, who is going to actually think that, down in the corner there. Luffy's going to show up right in between an army and a fleet, and my personal favorite line of the chapter, and I'm going to save my captain.
Mm-hmm.
Get him, handsome.
Why did I give Kelly this page? Steve.
I liked the joke, the sort of slightly delayed joke where Nitro is asking her like, who's going to think we're husband and wife? Like, there's nobody around.
She cares about.
Nitro's over it.
I care about what you and Rabian think about me, okay? And that's the exchange that happens there then in my brain. Anyway, Steve, please enjoy this page.
Well, we start this big old spread with a column. We're still in Mirror World. I feel like this is meant to be very tranquil at the moment, kind of just very quiet. We just hear the dust kind of blowing, and we see Katakuri standing prominently in the background as Luffy rises once again, and he's not all there. I mean, he's definitely trembling. It's taking a lot out of him just to stand back up, and it's just immediately met with a bunch of fists, a bunch of punches, and no sound effects right there.
No sound effects.
Sorry, Miles. But harump, because he stands. He remains standing, not knocked down, and Katakuri kind of has a look on his face like, uh-oh. But it is now 11:36 in the PM, and we have some citizens here. It's just like, I can't believe there are so many siblings on Cacao Island. And this other guy who looks like I was gonna say a lecherous manticore, but says, how worried are they about Straw Hat Luffy?
Steve, before you move on any further, please mention the characters in the background there.
Sure. I'm sorry, it clicked ahead because I got to zoom in here, because what we have here is first we have we pretty much have the male gender bend of the Beauty and the Beast, like the Beauty and the Beast cabinet lady.
More?
Sure. Mm-hmm. But he's got a top hat and glasses. We have just, another lady, another
and
gal,
a sentient fart.
Yes.
I was gonna say a wisp.
Pigman.
Will-o-wisp, perhaps.
I was gonna say a wisp, but
I like sentient fart. I mean, if I have to choose, but okay.
sentient fart.
Sentient fart.
All right, so let me zoom out again, and let's just say this is evidence. It's like, where are your mirrors, people? And someone's like, we threw them all away, of course. And now here we go. If you thought adding in Flampe to the story was a little excessive, buckle up, because we're bringing out the whole family. Warren, no, I'm just kidding.
Not again. We've done it 3 times, and that's way too many times.
Well, here come the frickin' the Rockers and the Rockettes. It's like, are you serious about this brother oven? It's like a festival. It looks like so much fun. Kia ha ha ha. And these are the 36th through the 40th sons and the 30th through the 34th daughters of the Charlotte family, the decuplets.
Oda's just like, have I done? I just need to get 30 through 40 out of the way.
I can't keep it up. They do kind of look like multiple Dellingers, I gotta say, which is
They should have been introduced earlier.
Alex is gonna love this episode, or not episode. He's gonna love this chapter because he's loved them, the Droogs, for some time now. So I'm sure he's excited that they finally have a place in the family, or we get to see where they were. I think this is mentioned, by the way, that
we've seen them.
We've seen them plenty of times, but like they were at the meeting at the table where Mondor was just like, everything's okay, right? And what's his name? Acapella. I keep wanting to call him Rockapella.
Opera?
Yeah, Opera. Opera's like, yeah, everything's fine. Everything's just fine. He's like, you sure? He's like, yeah. They're there. They showed up at the in chapter 845 with the Army of Anger. So they've been in and around. And I think it was also mentioned in SBS that the most children she ever had in one birthing was 10. Right, so they've been foreshadowed.
I really want one of those opera brothers, because there's so many that look exactly the same. One of them has to be named Acapella.
Did you know that each of them, like depending on their birthing order, has a different number of sprout of hair? Like Opera has none.
God,
the next one has
Greg.
1. The next one has 2. Yeah. Next
Greg's
one has 3. And we haven't seen Dolly yet. But
Greg's making that face right now. Tate face.
the green
There's
face.
more though.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's one more. There's Gala. Oh.
But we do have Oven sitting on 3 barrels, just getting annoyed by his younger siblings, letting out a huff. He says, "Shut up! You don't want." It's like, you don't have anything better to do. This will all be over in an hour and a half. Nothing to see here. Move along. And we have the 100 girl, the CN girl, Ukuru. And but now we're getting even more siblings. Let me scroll across here. First, we have this Hokage-looking dude.
See, I thought with like the cape and the jacket that he looked like a Tezuka character.
Yeah.
I was thinking Cyborg 009.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
He was also in the 845.
Okay.
Thank you, Greg. He's the 33rd son, Raisin. And he said, "Never realized how inconvenient it is without the telepathic sea slugs."
It's a good thing he's in Cacao Town because raisins taste a lot better.
No. This guy is a killjoy. He's like, it's so inconvenient with the telepathic sweet slug. He's like a raisin in your Halloween bag.
Exactly, the worst.
There's lots of ways to.
Well, sometimes, Ed, you just get raisins in your Halloween candy. That's Cacao Town.
Isn't it? That's Cacao Town, baby. Anyway, what else do we have? Yeah. Miles. Yeah.
There were 2 minutes that passed since we last saw the clock here. You can see we're at 11:38-ish now. And also, just to call it out, it looks like Oven is sitting on 4 barrels, not 3, based on the way he's sitting. Just wanted to correct that there.
Okay. Way to make this a jelly bean counting contest.
Well, those 4 minutes are to allow an entire episode of the anime to pass in between these 3 panels.
We're gonna have a big song and dance number with the deck couplets.
I'd be so down for that.
Maybe.
Now that's a good idea.
We had one more on this panel.
Yeah, we have. I believe this is the bigger fellow in the back, the 35th son, UN.
Yeah,
and then etc.
etc.
Even
and the rest.
Gilligan style.
Even the Oda box gives up.
Yeah,
it's just like I can't
UN. He looks like a mage. Like he looks like he just came back from LARPing.
He does.
Like is he gonna stop?
He looks like a Toriyama character, like a Sandman type guy.
It looks like he got his outfit from Cracker, because he looks like he's covered in crackers.
Graham crackers, yeah.
Looks like Yangus fused with Boo.
Looks like he's gonna just throw like just tennis balls at Luffy and go lightning bolt.
Yeah. I'm not sure what the if there's a sweets related source to his name. Like I wasted like 2 hours trying to figure this out. And this is what happens, of course, when Oda establishes a pattern and he has a million different things. And then if you can't find something because if you just Google his name the way that Oda wrote it, there's nothing. It doesn't correspond to anything in Japanese. And so then it's like, oh, well, it has to mean something, surely. And I think there is some kind of Chinese or Taiwanese like a Taro related thing, but they spell it differently. It's something like that. It was just like, okay, I'm not really positive on this, so I'm just going to go with, the Romaji of how he wrote it. So,
Stephen, I did the same thing you did, and I think you're right. It's like a flour dumpling.
Yeah, and then I was like, okay, well, this is the guy who is introduced before the word etc. So I don't think Oda has a big plan for him. So yeah.
And Charlotte, etc. He just has a very fanciful outfit here. We cut away to some ships that are probably off the coast. It says like, we're here. How many foes are at our doorstep? Thousands? Single digits, I believe. Is someone else responding? And someone said, and I believe this is the next character in the next panel. Says, what? I'm going back to sleep. And this is 32nd son of the Charlotte family, Brownie. He says, wake me up if anything happens. And gets a big old snot bubble.
Yeah. He's doing a heck of a job right there.
Oh my God. Where did you get that brownie?
Thank you.
Heck of a job, Brownie.
And we have 27th daughter of the Charlotte family, Joconde. Help me out here. Joconde.
Just sponge cake.
Forget about that D and the E.
Yeah, oddly enough, that's actually it's. So that's what they call this type of sponge cake in French, but that is named after the Mona Lisa, because that is apparently what they call the Mona Lisa in France is Joconde.
La Joconde.
And she looks just like the Mona Lisa.
Yeah.
Well, have you ever seen the Mona Lisa up close? She looks like a horse.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
Okay, so Joconde, and she sounds like, what has become of esteemed Big Mom name?
It's like a French Eric Cartman.
Like, what has become of esteemed Big Mom name?
She reminds me of someone from Asterix.
Probably.
Yeah,
well,
yeah.
I wouldn't put that past Oda. And this is a big one. This is the 25th son of the Charlotte family, former Sweet Four. It's Snack, whose bounty is 600 million berries. I don't know what the hell he looks like here. He looks like freaking Metroplex from freaking Transformers.
Jack knocked his fucking block off. He's got no head.
Well, it wasn't. No, it wasn't Jack. It was Rouge, right?
Rouge.
Yeah.
Was it? Oh, it was Rouge.
Yeah.
Sorry. Well,
And
he's on that joke.
And he just huffs and he just says, "Worst generation."
He's pissed.
I can't even tell what he is right here. Like, well, he's got one like hand to his head, like he's clearly like leaning, but
He looks like Onigiri a little, right? Is that just me?
well, what?
Or like
what's
the
the head
Mochi,
shape
but
here?
there's too many.
Yeah,
Dumplings.
I gotta imagine that this is like shaded on purpose, like he's doing the foreshadowing thing where we're gonna see the face later.
This is a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I thought that was more his hair at the top, but I it's very hard to see. That was cool to just throw in at the end there. I was not expecting
Yeah, I wasn't expecting to see him at all. But bring back in the decouplets, jazz hands. Let's go, kids.
and etc.
Seriously, they're the Glee Club of the Charlotte family.
Greg, finish us off.
All right.
Yeah.
All right, so we got a ticking and a talking, and it is the promised time at the start of this chapter, 12:05. Got some huffing and some wheezing going on, and Katakuri just, oh my god, I love this. I love how he's drawn here. He just totally, I can hear the sounds and I can hear the voice now, like in my head of what this is going to sound like. It looks really cool. What's wrong, Straw Hat? Is this? And Luffy answers his question before he asks it. He says, yeah, that's right. All you've got! Exclamation point. Wheeze, wheeze. And now he throws it right back at Luffy. Yes, I accept. Luffy says it's time to end this if you can. I already answered that. So we've got a little bit of testing of the waters here of some future sight, if I'm interpreting this correctly, between Luffy. Yeah, between Luffy and Katakuri. I've been
Katakuri still seems to be a little bit further ahead right now.
Yeah, Katakuri, as he rightfully should be. I I've been waiting for this. I thought there was a chapter a few chapters ago where Oda was starting to hint at it, and it was just he worded something a little bit oddly. Stephen, I think we talked about that a little bit. And it seems that this is the first time that we're getting the hints of this, that Luffy is making some progress.
Mm-hmm.
And he declares that this is the end. I know. Gear 4, Snake Man. And Katakuri is... I'd like to assume that this is the face that... some people are like, he looks silly or like he's like, oh my God. I don't think it's that at all. I think this is the face that he normally makes when he has that, whatever that is around him. This is probably his resting Katakuri face. And he's just kind of taking it in. And looks like we have a new form of Gear 4 to look forward to next chapter.
Thank you, Greg. So before...
But when are we going to get Gear 5?
Miles, what did you think of this chapter?
I mean, what a chapter. What a way to end a chapter, too. Teasing a new ability. I mean, I really liked seeing a ton of new characters get introduced. That hasn't happened in maybe a chapter or two. No, in all seriousness, I really like that we got a good, 3-4 pages of Rayleigh. Anytime we get to go back to Luffy's training, it really grounds this arc in the New World. It's been at least for me personally, since we've come to the New World, One Piece has been a much more on and off presence in my life, where sometimes I'll be all about One Piece and sometimes I'll just go months without keeping up. Just 'cause life happens. And before the New World, that was not the case. If a new chapter came out, I was there. I was always there. And so anything that brings me back to kind of before we got into the scary new world of, I guess, the real part of adulthood for me, and the adulthood of the series, almost literally now. It's been very satisfying and enjoyable.
Yeah, just a couple more months before One Piece can drink. Kelly, what did you think?
So I thought this was a really fun chapter. I'll echo what Miles said. I always loved seeing anything, in particular from the time skip and the time that Luffy spent with Rayleigh. I feel like it was building up a lot of anticipation for the other ones, especially with moving some of the different characters around. I feel that there's a good opportunity for Sanji to, quote unquote, redeem himself in the eyes of some people who still think he disrespected Luffy a little bit too much. This going over to Cacao Island sets himself up to be able to kind of put a ribbon on that or close it off, and also now potentially opens up the opportunity if the Vinsmokes are going to come back, because I do feel like if that's going to close off, maybe the rest of the crew won't actually see that interaction. It might just be something with Sanji and Luffy. The end of the chapter was fantastic with the precognition going on. And I kind of took Katakuri's face at the end there is more just like acceptance in a sense. He's like, well, I already know kind of what's going to happen here, and I accept it. So I don't know if that's what he's doing there, but I kind of feel like he just kind of knows how this is going to shake out now. But I'm super excited to see Snake Man.
We'll talk more about Snake Man or theories there on at the end. Steven, thoughts?
I like this chapter a lot. I think it was, just getting past the interruption of the past chapter or two to get back to the good stuff of, Luffy and Katakuri fighting was definitely a huge improvement for me. And, for as much as I complained about having these characters introduced late, like it's not a character being introduced late necessarily that I object to. It's them being introduced late and then stepping in to occupy, your full attention for a while when they're clearly not meant to play a better role. So I guess I will. So I was cool with all the crazy, sort of background characters on Cacao Island. I guess I'll eat my words if, like, in a next chapter or two, like, we get the story of Joconde and her tragic back past with, Charlotte Oven and, all of that crap. I'll eat my words if it comes to that, but I don't think it will.
I hope it does.
So, well, all right then. But I liked, even though it was a very, I think, kind of utilitarian scene. I did like the Rayleigh and Luffy flashback. It's literally he's just kind of cherry picking. Here's the parts where they talk about the stuff that's important to us right now. But I think he did manage to spend enough time to give you a nice glimpse of their kind of mentor-pupil relationship during that training period. And, it's one of the few points in the series where we really kind of don't know that much about what happened with Luffy, while we've been following along his whole story. So, it was cool to see that. And last, I guess, if we're talking about if we're all going to give our thoughts on this Katakuri face, I definitely take this. I don't believe that Katakuri actually knows what it is that Luffy is going to do. I think he knows that Luffy is going to, to exhibit a new power, and it's very much this whole last panel, this 2-page spread to me, is basically Oda saying, okay, they both realize, they're both on the same page here, that this is the final stage of the battle. They've been fighting for however many hours at this point, and they're about to, wring the last bit of strength that they have, and they both know it. And I think that's kind of what we are left with as we anticipate the Snake Man.
Greg,
there's so much that I want to talk about that I'm going to self-censor myself and try to keep it really succinct. But the start of the chapter kind of informs the reader about what comes at the end of the chapter. If you go into this thing about it depends what the enemy is like. What Oda's doing here is he's having Rayleigh talk about obviously meeting somebody like Katakuri, and then to that point, Luffy is talking about, it depends what they're like. And that asks us to think, what is Katakuri like? What is happening? Is this fight about killing Luffy anymore at this point? Is this fight about trying to stop somebody who was trying to assassinate Big Mom? No. It's not about that. This is partially why I believe that Luffy is still alive, is the fact that Katakuri is not a horrible, terrible human. We got a glimpse of that. I think it was the previous chapter where we see that he was given a bit of humanity, and we now know that these two are just it's two guys fighting. It is One Piece Film Z, and however this ends, I don't see the two of them being villains, the two of them being antagonistic towards each other so much as I do almost rival existences for each other. Other than that, I mean, I loved this chapter. It was a lot to digest. I'm glad we had a lot of people on board to deal with it, because it's bursting with personality, and seeing all the Charlotte family, like Steven said, unless we're delving into all of their pasts in a chapter or two, I don't know if I'm down for that, but I love having just the information out there, and the correct information, by the way, about, the birthing order and who everybody is. That's always great to have, and I always welcome that. Just an amazing chapter.
It also makes sense for how they, this big family, it's much bigger than we've even seen. So everyone from every island comes in, and you get this bizarre sort of stockpiling of family. Everyone's worried about Luffy. Man, how worried are they about this guy?
That's a great point.
Yeah.
That's an awesome point, because Brownie comes in, he doesn't even know what's going on.
Yes,
and which is important to also rationalize what's going on with the Vinsmokes and some of the other family that just isn't aware yet. So it's important to keep that in mind. That's a great point, Ed.
Ed, you might as well go into your
Okay.
thoughts on the chapter.
Yeah. It's interesting with we leave the chiffon and Bedge discussion sort of in mid. Nothing is resolved there, so we don't really know what they're gonna do. But they have this terrifying looking Big Mom. Big Mom is like, she's so scary here. She's got the crescent sort of shaped head like she did when she was like in her 30s, right? This is what her head used to look like. Like when she was a kid, she looked a lot more like she does fat now.
Right.
But this is sort of what she looks like, deflated, and she's just like terrifying. You can't quite see the skin hanging off the tops of her arms there, but I feel like it should be. Yeah, it's Katakuri and Luffy are so alike in their abilities. I wonder if Katakuri sort of sees like, man, what would I be doing if I wasn't with this family? If I didn't have to like deal with this family and I could sort of pursue my physical like prowess elsewhere. Like, what's this obligation? What do I have to do? Like, this fight is like the most fun I've had like in a long time. My childhood wasn't great, even in Big Mom's family. So it's like, man, I seem to be enjoying this. What if I didn't work for my mother? But I don't know. I don't know if that's explicit, but I sort of you can read a lot into Katakuri's stoic face. There's a lot you can't see there. But yeah, I especially like, Greg, you pointed out how this how the beginning of the chapter really sort of tells how the end is going to go. Oda isn't usually terribly subtle about a lot of things, and which is kind of the way I like it. But it's just subtle enough that you don't always pick up on everything.
Steve, want to round us off here? Yeah.
Sure. First of all, I would like to say I'm looking forward to the new season of One Piece. Looking forward to this new storyline where it's going. One Piece versus the Snake Men.
That's a deep cut. Okay.
Thank you for those chuckles. It's a shame I wasn't on last week's episode because I like that manga chapter and I like this one too. I really like the Katakuri fight. And if I'm going to steal something, my friend Mike, Steve's friend Mike, said, Katakuri is totally a Zoro opponent. By the numbers, it's kind of all about, man versus man, kind of warriors, mutual respect. Katakuri is totally a Zoro opponent. And
he's
Big Mom
Mr.
is
One.
really and Big Mom's really the opponent for Luffy. My friend also said this, and I thought it was funny, but also very true. If Oda was a hack, he would have wrote it as such. It would be Luffy fighting Big Mom right now, and Zoro have already like beaten Katakuri or whatever. I think this is like, is this a little cliche? Is this it's kind of by the number shown and stuff? Yes. But what I like about this is, for most of early One Piece, Oda kind of just broke down barriers and tropes and cliches, and he did unique things, and he really developed his main cast. So now I could enjoy seeing the main cast go through something that's a little more by the numbers, but it's more enjoyable because it's these characters doing it. So that's my take on kind of the discussion from last week coming in this week. So that's why I'm really enjoying this this nearing climax of One Piece, so that every time I'm on I say is happening, but clearly we still have more chapters in us. But the drawings in these chapters have been great. The artwork has been fantastic. Oda's just really, he's on the ball, especially with these action panels too. They're all great, and there's so much life to them. It's a lot of fun, and I think I also want to just reiterate what Greg said. It doesn't really matter to me that we keep being introduced to the Charlotte family, because it's not like we're getting their backstories, unnecessary backstories. Like, these characters do exist, and we should be introduced to them, because I feel like I would be damned if he didn't. Like, if he didn't introduce these characters, he'd probably get tons of questions, and they'd probably be identified in an SBS. And I'd prefer, them be identified in the arc while they're relevant. Other than that, I really enjoy the Luffy and Rayleigh dynamic. It's a lot of fun. I'm kind of glad he saved that till much later, and I wouldn't mind seeing more of this in flashbacks through the rest of the series. Great chapter.
We've been kind of getting hints at it through since Dressrosa, I'd say. There's not a lot I could add since I think we have a pretty esteemed panel here today that covered pretty much everything I want to say. I just want to add, I think this was a super cinematic chapter. I think Oda did a really good job organizing how the story was portrayed here, and it's different than what we
normally I wouldn't like this.
No, this is usually what Ed hates. Yeah.
Yes, but I love this. This actually reminds me of a well-done anime episode, like the way they would cut quickly, I guess. But they're doing it with style and with purpose, as opposed to just getting their shit in.
Exactly. Yeah, and so the stuff with Rayleigh, I loved and I thought was super cinematic, and how that kind of, not only how it changes seasons in like a day, which we know Ruskaina, is that there's like 10 times more seasons than there would be on a normal island on the Grand Line. So it's kind of cool to see that probably a day has passed, but you're going into a completely different scenery even. That leading into Luffy's, something we don't see, Luffy's kind of inner thought process, or at least what he's seeing, and not what necessarily the audience would be seeing. And then intersplicing the Katakuri Luffy fight. We kind of glossed over that in the actual recap itself, but I thought that was super cool. And seeing what's happening on all sides of this fight as it hopefully comes to a close relatively soon is pretty damn interesting. I don't know what to expect from Snake Man. I don't even if I had something expected, I kind of wouldn't want it to be that. So I have nothing to draw from. Do you guys have anything?
Well, I think it could be that Luffy is turning, like, he's compressing his entire body into like a snake form. I mean, I don't know.
Anyone else? Yeah.
It's really hard to say. At first I was kind of thinking that, or then maybe thinking stretching the neck in some way, but I really can't picture it.
Luffy detaches his limbs.
Sure.
Try fighting someone who you can't see a punch coming from, as I do not have fists. I should have thought this over.
Yeah, see, I only took it as like squeezing, but I couldn't figure out what he'd actually look like, Yeah,
but that's all I've got. I thought this was a really fun chapter. I think it's the best one we've had in a little while. I am definitely looking forward to this fight concluding. Not that I've not enjoyed this, but I'm starting to get some fatigue, I think, from it. It's complicated. I think it's just because we're going through it week to week and talking about it every week. So I'm, kind of excited to get to that point where it's over. But I feel like if you were to read this in volume form, I feel like this would probably be a really satisfying pace.
Now in volume form.
Anyway, why don't we move on into the next segment? Are you guys ready?
Sure.
Why we're here.
Oh my God.
This is the anime recap for episode 825, A Liar, Luffy and Sanji. I'm your host Sam, and today with me we have Ed.
Hello.
And joining us once again we have Kelly.
Hello.
And on top of all that, we have our good friend Steve.
Ahoy, hoy.
All right.
Cold open this week.
Yeah, they kind of mixed it up this time, where we get a little bit of proper recap, and then it goes into...
What about these 5 minutes wasn't better than last week's episode? That's just how
That's how you felt?
What about... That's how I felt. Like...
Well, so starting at a minute 50, we get some new content before the opening plays. We basically get to see the ending of the Luffy versus Counter fight from last week. So we get to see them you put the dukes up, they beat each other up, they pass out, but Luffy is the one who's able to get up. They spend quite a bit of time on this, and it's like 5 minutes in that the opening plays, and the opening this time it's the same song, but now they're recutting scenes from the arc and retelling.
It feels like a Saturday morning cartoon opening.
Yeah, right. Like it's. I mean,
It's an AMV.
Yeah, it is an AMV, but it's like, okay, so we just went from the opening to a much more like static, something much more like visually static. There's not a lot of movement in the TV
and
animation.
a lot sadder. I thought they added a few more of the sadder scenes as well.
Right.
It's funny because I got really confused because I was watching last week's episode too because I fell asleep during it. Not because it was boring, I was just tired. But it probably didn't help much. And I was just fast forwarding on Crunchyroll, going to about like the 3-minute mark where the opening would normally end, and there's stuff happening, and I'm like, oh, like I guess we have a shorter recap, really short recap. Where's the opening? And I was like, all right, this is a cold open. We haven't seen this since probably the Ennie's Lobby days.
We've had a couple of them.
They did it in Marineford, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh,
there have been
really?
ones recently, I think.
Oh,
Yeah.
I just can't
I
remember
can't
the
recall.
specific examples.
But I let it play anyway, and I decided like, I'm not gonna skip the opening, and I was on my phone, and then I'm like looking up at the TV, and I start seeing like, oh, did they add in new scenes? And because I was seeing the Vinsmokes, and then I rewound, I was watching, I'm like, oh, this is an AMV.
Well, coincidentally, well, probably not coincidentally, the song finally came out for purchase. So Hope is now actually purchasable on at least the Japanese iTunes store. And that actually corresponded with the release of this episode. So
Yeah,
I'm wondering
there's
if that
definitely-
had something to do with it.
They're definitely trying to make like it feels like a big deal that we're finally getting this Luffy Sanji thing to come full circle.
Mhm.
The proper title card begins at 7 minutes and 49 seconds, although we're not going to be too hard on that because, like we said, there's some new stuff before then.
It was good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
We open with it's Sanji he's found Luffy amongst all the bodies. Luffy looks like a shriveled up mummy. He's saying we just saw him like kind of smiling and like happy to see his friend for the first time in a while, but now he's kind of looking sad again. He's putting the basket down. He's saying, "I didn't ask you to wait," but Luffy can only kind of smile at that. Don't be selfish and force things on others. So Sanji doesn't sound like he's entirely ready to come back like we were hoping. So he gives Luffy the basket. He gets explained that it got crushed, it fell in the mud and got wet in the rain, so it's not in the best shape. But Luffy is free to eat it if he wants to, and obviously Luffy does. He's more than happy to eat this like really, really muddy food. Like
It was a much more blatant parallel I felt in the anime. The way he was talking, it sounded exactly like his mother, Sanji's mother.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't pick up on it as much in the manga.
yeah, where
Even the
Luffy
way
is super happy to eat it. And,
Yeah, even the way the lunch looked with the fish heads, like being really prominent in the picture, was very reminiscent of what he made for Sora.
yeah, and with all the mud, it's like 25% not food. So
Ugh, it was so gross.
good luck
Falling apart.
digesting that, Luffy. Sanji, he like turns his back to Luffy. He's sitting down on one of the unconscious chess piece keepers, and he's being kind of pensive. And he starts listing the reasons why he can't come back yet. And he's like doing this thing with his fingers where he's like 1, and then with 2 fingers and 3 fingers. First, I insulted my captain who came all this way for me, and I did my best to hurt him. And second, that damned geezer that I'm indebted to is being held hostage. And we get this kind of like sequence where we're thinking back to the Bratier, the people at the Bratier, and we're getting like this big flash of lightning where all the unconscious bodies in this field, for a moment, they look like the dead bodies of the cooks from Bratier, like which is what Sanji fears could happen. Third, my evil biological family has been trapped by Big Mom. even though they're awful, I can't just let them die. And this is sort of where we're already at the eye catch by this point. Like they've killed a lot of time with like so little conversation.
And I really enjoyed it. Honestly, I love this Sanji Luffy dynamic of them. This was the conversation I wanted them to have last week. And I was really digging it.
So we come back and Sanji's just made his big, he's made his argument for why he shouldn't come back to the crew. And Luffy, being big and dramatic, jumps up in the air, lands in front of Sanji so that they're now looking face to face, and then just pelts him like really hard. And it's like this it kind of takes a while to see the whole
parts of King Bomb go flying.
Indeed.
Yeah. Sanji gets crashed into the tree. He's getting all bloodied and messed up. And Luffy, being Luffy, is shouting, "Say what you really want!" And then Sanji is, having a moment. He remembers the crew and all the fun times they had. He starts to cry. I really like I really like how kind of expressive Sanji's crying is in this episode.
I just like the phrase you use, the fun times they've had. I like to refer to them as the fun times they've never had, but just for the sake of this scene. It happens all the time in the One Piece anime. It's like, for once, I would love to see them just cut back to something that actually happened.
Well, we don't know how many days it was between rising from Fishman Island to Punk Hazard.
But it's another classic. Everyone has to talk. Everyone talks too much.
Yeah.
9 other crew members have to all get their piece in.
And then Sanji finally admits, I want to go back to the Sunny. Hiroaki Hirata, that's the guy, right?
Yes.
Fantastic in this episode, especially during this sequence.
Good.
There's some raw stuff here. And he's saying, I want to go back to the Sunny, but I can't get the courage to run away. And now everything, like the stubbornness he was showing, talking about his family, is now kind of being recontextualized as we see like how afraid he is to actually just like up and leave. And our good friend, a new instrumental version of it starts to play, very kind of slow and builds throughout these last few minutes. Sanji keeps crying. He's like, I don't even consider those scum family, but I can't just do it. And obviously Luffy is there for him. He's saying, well, that's just how you are. Let's crash this wedding. And they sort of have this moment. The rain stops. The clouds start to part. The sunshine is beaming down on the land of Whole Cake Island.
Makes me happy.
Yeah,
this shot was guest directed by Makoto Shinkai.
Yeah, we get a good look at this landscape, and we're like, okay, we're not leaving here quite yet. We got one more fight ahead of us, one more 40, 50 episode fight ahead of us. And
don't say it like that.
He's not wrong.
And everything looks like it's gonna go okay between these two. And then that's sort of the last scene with them. The final scene of the episode is we get a glimpse of a new character. If you've read the manga, you know who this is. Actually, we get introduced to this character. It's Charlotte Katakuri. He's a very tall man with a big coat on. In the area where he's at, it's still kind of rainy, I guess. Or we're jumping back in time. Either or. But we get a little moment. He's got whatchamacallit, the cowboy spurs. There we go. Yeah.
Yeah, we better not hear those like for the next 50 episodes.
He gets to the big door, and one of the guards is like, "Oh, don't worry, I'll ring them up." But he's like, "No need. It'll open soon." And then a few seconds later, the doors start to open. It's like he's psychic, and then he moves in, and that's the end of the episode.
It's funny because it's the voice of Joseph Joestar, but it's Joseph Joestar doing an impression of Dio.
And Yusuke Kitagawa from Persona 5.
And
any general thoughts?
Gintama from Gintama.
Yeah. And Nisekoi from Nisekoi. So any general thoughts on the episode, you guys?
I really liked it. I liked that moment in the manga, and I thought it was done really, really well in the anime and the fight sequences. I love those long, drawn-out punches. I'm not going to lie, I cried during this episode, and when We Are started, well, I cried more.
Oh, man.
because
That was
that
a very
just
good moment.
twists the knife right in there a little bit more. But I really, really liked the whole like say what you mean crying sequence a lot. I thought they did a really good job.
It's what we expect in One Piece, really.
Yeah, it's all the feels.
Ed or Steve?
It was a long road to get there, though.
Mm.
This was the We Are instrumental episode because wow, that was a really powerful little ballad right there. It is new, right? This hasn't been on any soundtrack.
I don't think so.
right?
I think it's new. Yeah.
I saw Alex tweeting about it, but I was watching it and like I was kind of, I was somewhat kind of checked out of the episode. I was kind of paying attention to it, but my mind sometimes was elsewhere. But that moment got a very emotional reaction out of me, which I find very ironic because I wasn't necessarily invested in the episode to begin with. And it just made it a very memorable experience for me. Great version of We Are. Let's just hope they don't overuse it.
Mm.
How long do you think it is before we get a new cover of We Are as an opening?
Maybe the 20th anniversary of the anime.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Was
it 10th anniversary for the other one?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
But I think One Piece did this a little bit for the time skip. They spammed the hell out of We Go. And I'm thinking of Dragon Ball Super, the latest insert song they did for Ultra Instinct Goku.
Right.
They've used that so many times. And Ultra Instinct was only about, maybe like 3 months ago? Like, chill, Toei, chill.
Steve, I don't watch Dragon Ball Super. I'm pretty sure you made that up just now.
I can vouch for you,
Ultra
Steve.
Instinct.
I can
What
vouch
is
for you,
that?
Steve.
Thank you. Someone, honestly, well, Ed, I know you and Zach aren't the biggest Dragon Ball fans, so it's hard for me to recommend. But I will say this. Last thing I'll say about Dragon Ball is I think Super really started to find its own identity.
I
with
agree.
the Future Trunks arc, which is airing right now on Toonami. So if you prefer to watch it dubs, just watch it on Toonami. But yeah, it was a good-looking episode, I think, and the music was spectacular. And I think it was just a different direction. It was a very unique presentation because we had a first cold open. I think since the time skip. Speaking of We Go, I think we had a cold open before We Go played.
Yes.
I think that's the last time we've gotten a cold open.
It's definitely not the last time. I think there's been at least one in this arc.
Really?
But I can't remember which one it was.
But it's not when the episode isn't very good, though. People kind of forget about it.
Mm.
I did enjoy the implied filler with Katakuri arriving. I'm really looking forward to seeing how he turns out in the anime. It was good. It was a decent watch. It was a decent episode, but it had a very powerful ending. And sometimes it's not where you start; it's where you finish.
Right. Do we get to you, Ed?
No, I've said my piece.
Yeah, I liked the last couple of minutes a lot. Like I think the whole conversation that Luffy and Sanji have, just like the story here is really good, and I love the We Are. I think it's cool to see. They're throwing in Katakuri because this is kind of like this defining halfway point of the arc where now we're getting introduced to what's new, what's the second half gonna be about. I agree with like the presentation changes are nice just to make it feel like a big deal, like the cold open and stuff like that. But overall, really only enjoyed the last couple of minutes. I thought that the way that they chose to drag the episode out was like more suffocating than normal. And it's this kind of thing that would have worked. Like it would have worked if they dedicated this whole episode to like looking back on where we've come from and like really kind of sitting on the emotions that we've been dealing with throughout this entire arc. If we hadn't gotten like 3 or 4 episodes like this already, where they kill a lot of time, like remember what happened? What we just showed you about Sanji's flashback 3 weeks ago. Let's sit on that again, just to kill some time.
The anime works best when you don't exactly remember what happened last week.
True.
On it.
Yeah, I guess. Getting tired of this pacing. This is like, I think, half of a chapter.
It's just funny because last week it bugged me a lot more, and this week I enjoyed it. We're just the opposites.
Yeah, I think so. Like I did not.
We're on two different wavelengths.
I did not mind it at all last week. I minded it so much this week. It really killed a lot of the episode for me, but the part that mattered was good. So,
right on.
All right, are we ready to move on to the next segment?
All right, let's do it.
All right, let's go.
Classic.
This is the Piece Together segment where we take your questions, comments, and theories. We lost Greg and we lost Miles, but you should still listen to us. We still have.
Way to sell it.
We're great at this. Steven, Steve, Ed, Kelly, you're all still here. Hi, thank you for sticking around.
Oh yeah.
I'll say this right now at the top of the Piece Together segment. I have a crazy trivia game at the end because I was not sure if Greg would be here and I needed to do something crazy and impressive. So good luck. Stick around for the end for that. We don't have any disc piece this piece, so we're gonna start with.
You missed opportunity to say this week.
This week. I chose the other way around, but whatever. Let's start out with emails. First, Ryan asks, so when King Riku created the legend about the Tontatas being fairies, did everyone just buy that? I'm not sure if in the past their existence was known, but by the end of the Dressrosa arc, everyone was like, yeah, we knew about them the entire time. Was it like an open secret? That's just kind of bothering me, so wanted to ask.
I think that story was basically like the Santa Claus story, where they were all like, oh, yeah, it's the fairies. Yeah, the fairies came and took all the stuff away.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah.
I agree. That's the best way to put that. Yeah. Hatem has a question saying, any ideas on the significance? Oh my god, a lot of the Tontata questions this week. Any idea on the significance of the Tontatas escorting the Dressrosa delegation to the Reverie? These are all completely different questions. Let's ask that one first.
I think they're going to be very cute.
They could be used for spying, like I said before.
And they're Luffy delegates, and I think the thing we've been thinking about the Reverie is the more Luffy delegates,
Yeah, that's true.
And they're literally on the Grand Fleet, so that's important.
Right.
As far
Maybe
as we
Wapol will eat one of them and turn them into a toy. Like
as far
Mechaleo.
Mechaleo. It's like Mecha Shiva, but different. Do you think Germa 66 will help sort out the whole thing happening at Cacao Island? That's the second question he had.
Yeah. If they're going to show up, that's the time, right?
I would think, I've been kind of lukewarm on Germa's performance in this arc overall. But if they have like the entire rest of the family there on Cacao Island and Germa just flattens them, like that would be pretty awesome.
Yeah, like even before Sanji shows up. But Sanji, I feel like, has to do something.
He's going to do something.
Yeah, and they're running out of opportunities at this point.
Next question. Oh my god. Why is everyone asking the same kind of questions when they have nothing to do with this week's chapter? This one's from Brandon. I'll ask it. I've been thinking about why Oda made Sanji leave Cacao Island with the cake if he's just going to go back and help Luffy a few chapters later. I think I know why. Clearly, he is going there to fight that massive army in order to help Luffy. And I think he is going to get overwhelmed, and then Germa 66 is going to show up. Wrapping up his family issues, although that seems like the opposite to me. But anyway, do you guys have any thoughts on whether that theory has credence?
I mean, he did say he was going to save his captain. So that does seem pretty straightforward in that sense. Although it does make me wonder, like, because I feel like Big Mom eating the cake has to be like a really dramatic moment in some way or another. And I just don't know how I feel about it if it doesn't involve Sanji directly. So that's the thing that I would be concerned about, I guess.
Well, the cake is getting further and further away.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Just Merton says, is there any character that you didn't like upon first reading, but after revisiting the series a time later, became someone that you really have grown to admire?
This is different from people who were introduced and we didn't like them, but as we kept reading, we liked them. This is like upon reread.
Yeah, it seems more like it's upon reread.
I don't know.
Buggy, I think. Like, going back to his initial chapters, you didn't really think he's just a clown sort of character. You think it's sort of a kind of a hack premise or kind of a overused like clown villain premise. Because it's like the first 10 chapters of One Piece. And you go back and read them, and you realize there was a lot going on there.
And I think with the,
for me.
I was going to say with Buggy, I think with the context of where he is now, too, when you go back and reread it, you appreciate him a lot more.
That's true.
Pudding. For me.
No, I still am.
Still nope.
Lukewarm. There's nothing.
That's just me.
I'm not going to get into the pudding thing. It's a whole messy thing.
No pudding wrestling for Zach tonight.
Not like my normal Monday nights, at least. Next one comes from Grand Line Review, who say, "Hey there, podcast folk. I was just curious as to whether or not any of you were disappointed by Charlotte Snack's bounty. It seems a little low to be one of the top 4 commanders of an emperor, and to me kind of kills most of the hype about Yarouge having beaten a sweet commander. At the very least, I would have thought it would be higher than Parasparrow's bounty. Cheers."
Okay. It's freaking power levels. I don't care.
Yeah.
But it also makes sense that like a character that we've met would only be able to beat the weakest one, really.
Guys,
so that's what I thought he was.
Bounties do not equal power.
Equal power.
That's
exactly.
it, and that's
yeah,
that's it.
What if he was originally twice that much, and then they found out that he got his ass whooped by a big crazy monk, and they're like, "Oh, sorry, dude."
I also forgot to. Sorry, I kind of blanked on this and realized if it was talked about. No, I forgot to mention this. Former Sweet Four, so I'm guessing he got demoted.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, they call him the Three now.
And
yeah.
I was surprised that we actually saw him. I was just like, oh, I figured he was either dead or just, like
somewhere.
He was the Thatch of the Charlotte family.
Right.
I just imagine
he was just tired.
I just imagine him sitting in his room alone, like drawing a circle with his finger on the floor, like a sad face.
No, he's been sent to timeout.
Yeah,
this is what happens.
He's got one panel in a flashback saying, "Hey, I'm Snack."
Now he's got one panel here saying, "Ooh, I'm Snack." Next question comes from Greg Lawson, who said, "Having just rewatched Sideshow Bob Roberts, it raised an interesting question."
My favorite episode of Simpsons, I think, these days.
It raised an interesting question. Can Brooke vote?
Hey, the dead have risen and they're voting Republican.
So would Brooke be a Republican?
He's very old.
Yeah, I was going to say.
But he's also a musician.
He's very old and he's a sexual harasser.
That's okay. Yeah, it's true.
He was banned from that mall.
I don't see how that applies to Brooke, but it's still funny. Anyway, so I think then he would be able to vote because the Republicans, really have a pretty good stranglehold on who votes and who doesn't at the moment.
As long as he's got ID, that's good enough for them.
He's very white.
But he wasn't. I don't think he was white before he lost his skin.
I don't know.
I think he would. I don't know. He would be a Democrat. He's got a lot of qualities about him.
He enjoys the jazz plants.
Exactly.
Yeah, remember, when he was born, the Democrats were the bad guys.
That's the real life timeline is confusing me with the fake one. Anyway, on an
there's no way in hell Brooke is conservative.
Yeah, I mean, the other things you said are true, but I don't see him being conservative. Greg also asked on an equally obscure note, I wonder if Suru's fruit ability to wash some of the evil out of those struck by it defines evil as in opposition to the ideals of the user. Also, if it could be used on like-minded allies to strengthen their resolve.
That's interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I I don't think we have answers to that, but I
No,
like that.
no.
I like that theory. That's a good. I mean, that's a good reason to question how her power works at the very
Yeah.
least. Yeah.
Although I would also say that we haven't really seen a lot of evidence that would suggest that like she is has a particularly corrupt view of justice or anything. Like she seems fairly level-headed as far as the upper brass goes.
Yeah, she seems to be one of the most, not crazy people
Yeah,
who's still there.
pragmatic.
Yeah.
She was good friends with Sengoku.
Yeah.
And Sengoku is a pragmatist. Anyway, we're going to move on to Reddit, Steven.
Okay, here we go. Let's see. Mr. Fiendish starts off, the past couple of chapters had that filler feeling, so it got me to thinking, Oda seems to always have some big event timed out to occur every 100 chapters. So did these chapters get written simply to make the big event land on chapter 900? And follow up, what do you think will happen on chapter 990? I have no idea about that, but
He might be right that Oda's purposely dragging this out to get it to 900. I would actually really not be surprised if he were doing that.
yeah, I would cry foul on this, but that's like the one angle where I'm like, yeah, he does seem to have a pattern. I don't think it's always that way
No,
necessarily,
Stephen,
but
I
if he
figured-
has the opportunity, he will do it.
I figured it out. He's doing it just to spite me with the whole Cake Island contest. By the way, we should check where
Yeah,
that's
this was
in.
my chapter, so I'm
This is
or wait, no,
yours?
sorry, next week is mine. So
Oh, I could totally
yeah,
end
and-
next week. So yeah, we're it's 894. This was Greg's chapter, so good thing he came on this week. Coincidentally, Steven is 895. Sam is 880. Wait, 887. I put those in the wrong place. Steven, it's the closest without going over. So you have 5 chapters in which you could still win as long as
okay.
it happens
Cool.
before 900, which was Kelly. Then I have 901 through 90, not really until the end. So yeah, this is going to be interesting.
Mm-hmm.
It's you and me, Steven. It's you and me.
Yep.
Yeah.
The grudge match. Go next to the Demon Pirate, who says, I don't get it. Why is Steven still called a special guest on the show when he's there every episode? I've only been listening for about 6 months, so I don't know all the rules.
It's good.
It was
funny.
a big deal the first time we had you on.
It's funny because this was the first week in a long time I forgot to say it.
Yeah.
It's because he is always our very special guest.
Yeah.
I mean, Stephen, do you have an answer to the question?
Some people are just very special guests, and
Also,
this is the way it is.
Also, he yells at me when I don't call him very special guest for a long time.
Got expectations.
Yeah.
Here.
Yeah, you see what happens when we don't refer to him as special.
He's like, Zach, are you just gonna say I'm a regular guest? Like all these peons?
I refuse to come out of my trailer until I hear those words.
It's on the rider.
Yeah. Sorry, Zach, I can't hear you. I'm wearing a sauna suit.
All right, Yeoman Axel has done some counting, and so far the Straw Hats and their allies have defeated 15 officers of the Big Mom Pirates, either through beating them, in parentheses, Cracker, Brûlé, Opera's 3 brothers, Nustort, Flampe, Bobbin, Diesel, and Randolph, befriending them, Pudding, Peckham's, and Kingbaum, or beaten through circumstance, Opera and Struisen. In addition to officers, Luffy and Nami wiped out half an army of homies, and Germa more recently crushed 10,000 soldiers sent to defeat them. With the crew having sustained such massive losses, it's entirely possible that Big Mom, when she becomes lucid again, will consider retiring from active piracy, recognizing that the crew is not as powerful as it once was if it was gotten the best of by upstart rookies.
I want to start first with the most important point. King Baum is not an officer, as far as I know.
Well, named characters.
Yeah.
We'll call them that.
Yeah, sure. But although he is a personal favorite amongst the crew, I think here. Yeah, I'm very curious to see how the Big Mom Pirates are going to look at the end of this arc. Even if Big Mom herself is not beaten in the traditional sense, they're pretty well decimated.
My counterpoint would be, what if instead of her realizing that her crew is messed up, what if the eventual resolution of the arc is that she gets what she's been dreaming of all this time? The
wedding
cake.
Know,
everyone at the table on the same eye level, we did have an explicit mention of gigantification in this chapter. So
Yeah, that was weird.
Yeah, it was. And it didn't seem like if I don't think that was some sort of Caesar related thing, because they seemed to take that in stride. It wasn't like your new powers are going crazy, you're going to sink the ship. It seemed like they were used to that idea. So
where's Caesar?
I would say maybe she absorbed the seawater, but then she would die probably. So that makes sense.
Yeah, I don't know. It's weird. All right. BTAD NYC says, between naming the Soul Minions homies, the character arc of Flampe, and the Charlotte Snack appearance, it seems like Oda has enjoyed trolling his fans during this arc. Since there are now more characters introduced during this arc than Dressrosa, do you think that Oda is doing a better job of establishing them than he was with the Don Quixote family? I suppose this arc teaches what happens when you run your pirate operation as a family business. You have to hire those siblings that slack off, lie about getting work done, and spend way too much time on social media, or fail to get their security clearance. I would add that. Thanks again for the show.
Somehow, very good points all around there. What do you guys think?
I don't know. I really don't know how to answer that question. If he's doing a better job at establishing them than the Don Quixote family,
Well, I remember more of the Don Quixote family members' abilities, so probably he might not be doing a better job. I don't
depends
really
on what he
remember.
wants to do with it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, there are certainly members of the Charlotte family who are better developed, I think, than just about anybody in the Don Quixote family. So he does it better in places, but there are other members of the family who I have no clue, and they have spent more time on screen than I'm, comfortable with admitting. I don't really know what they do.
I guess I would say that I think having them be family members is a very useful and kind of convenient way to explain why they're all there. I did not necessarily buy, for the backstory of the Don Quixote family having come together due to Doflamingo's great charisma and stuff. I feel like not all of the characters did I really buy that with what he told us about them, but I don't know. It's pretty far down the list of important things, so I never really thought about it that much, I guess. Ogalicious says, I'm happy seeing Kakarot up on her feet again and somewhat recovered. Do you think she will use her Sulong powers again this arc? And what would each Underworld broker's presidential campaign slogans be?
Wow.
It took me forever to realize who they were talking about.
Yeah.
This is big news.
Big news, yeah. And
I don't think we'll see it again, to be honest.
it's too long. Yeah.
Yeah,
You
I feel like
presidential
it's kind of a one and yes, that's my slogan too. I feel like it's sort of a one and done for her for this arc.
That would be the way it was suggested, but I don't know. She's walking around now and it's still nighttime, so hard to say. I don't know.
Dufeld would be like, I'd get my hand on the Tamate box if it weren't for you damn kids.
Nice
Something like
box you got there. Shame if something happened to it.
Sure, that'd also work. I mean, the problem with Underworld bosses is that they normally shouldn't run for public office, but sometimes they do and they win. What's next?
Got to see Perk 97 says, doesn't it seem like too much of a coincidence that almost all of the Big Mom crew is at Cacao Island and Pudding is heading there as well? Is Oda setting her up so that she can erase everyone's memories? Maybe Oven or Snack somehow don't get their memories erased and Sanji has to fight them.
I'd rather not think about Pudding's powers.
Yeah, I was going to say, do you think her powers are going to come into play at all in these last few chapters?
I think it depends on what happens with Big Mom. You know, it's a good way for them to get away without having any retribution. But I really think it depends on how you resolve that chapter. Because I always kind of figured they might use it to escape. So it was just kind of like, we don't know who attacked us.
Yeah, but
you know?
I mean, she have to do it to everyone? I mean, I guess she could. She said she's done it before, but I mean, that's
Or does
They
she
had-
just
they had
do
to
it
do
to
the-
Mama?
yeah.
right. Yeah, I mean, they had to do it on a single file line with the chefs, so it doesn't
Exactly.
seem very practical for the whole island.
If she
But-
did it just to Mama, do you think the kids would admit who defeated them? I don't know if they'd even bring it
I
up.
think
again.
she has to remember it because the cake is going to be this big moment, in some regard.
Yeah.
And the
If it's what it takes to calm Big Mom down so that they all survive, I feel like the kids would let them go. They would let it slide. But yeah, I don't know. There's still a lot of stuff kind of juggling in the air right now.
Mm-hmm.
Like, is there the possibility, and just hear me out here, like, can they just starve Big Mom to death? What if they just destroy the cake?
I'm wondering if that's what Chiffon's
Yeah.
trying to do now.
They're just
And
like,
where's
"Oh,
Caesar?
we're looking, Big Mom. We almost have the cake." They're just looking at the clock, at the watches, like, oh,
Like
it's
she's getting smaller.
yeah.
I really hope Caesar's on Fluffy Island, just like ready to like take the last boat out, and right before he's like, crap.
Yeah, I want to see him with Germa at the end of this in one of those suits.
She sees a giant cotton candy cloud flying away.
And the two
Our
of them
very-
live happily ever after.
Yeah. Our very own Surgeon Chow says, I noticed that one of these Charlotte kids, he's referring to UN, is wearing armor reminiscent of the ones worn by the Terracotta Army. It has a name that resembles the Taiwanese dessert yuyuang, or the taro balls, which we did mention. And also points out, so what connection does Big Mom have with Kano? Did she have a fling with Don Chin Zhao? And it says,
Hey,
yes,
I mean-
that last question was apparently Ash's idea.
Well,
And crazier
Maybe.
I
things
don't-
have happened. I mean,
Yeah, I don't want to think about it, but that does seem like a very possible backstory thing that he could throw in there. It's not out of
he's Oda's just a big fan of Hong Kong action director Yuen Mo Ping.
Sure. This is from Nivers, who says, would you rather spend a boys' night out with Senor Pink or spend a girls' night out with Dellinger?
Dellinger, hands
Where's-
down.
Part of where's the difficult part of this question?
I don't know. I mean,
Um,
I think they're about the same to me. Either they're both really great or really terrible.
I just say no.
You're wrong.
Yeah, I wouldn't be running to do either of these two things in any capacity, but probably Dellinger. Anyway, what's next?
Okay. DDD Freed says, hey, OP-tricities, the school pageant is tomorrow and every class is competing. You've told the principal that you dress your 4th grade class in a One Piece themed costume. Why do I feel like this is actually asking for questions for himself? You need to place in the top 3 in the school in order to get tenure. You have 24 kids and a $200 budget. What do you do?
Get more money. So, oh wait, a One Piece pageant. So I think the first goal.
Kung Fu Dugongs.
No, you need to pick an arc that would involve the smallest budget. That's, I feel like, how I would go about it. So what arc takes place in one place the most? I guess Dressrosa actually would be pretty easy because you would just be going up a giant tower for the entire time.
Just have them all dressed in their dirtiest clothes and set it on Trash Mountain.
Yeah, there you go. Trash.
Just
Mountain.
do your own rendition of the One Piece Kabuki show, which is like 4 or 5 hours long. Covers
Amazing
Many arcs.
costumes.
$200
Uh,
budget.
spectacular water effects and Luffy's magic surfboard.
Are you thinking of the USJ show, or is that also?
No,
like
it's
a-
No,
surfboard in the
I am
Kabuki.
talking about. I'm talking about the Kabuki show
Yep.
with Luffy's magic surfboard, and he'll be propelled by strings as he surfs over the audience,
Yep.
and then some random person could say, just like a la the Goofy movie, "Who's that guy?" as he goes around the audience.
I hope we helped you with your 4th grade presentation.
It just reminds me of the South Park Thanksgiving episode where they're just trying to one up the kindergartners and have the best Thanksgiving play.
Exactly, and then the kindergartners just walk in. Anyway,
I want to see elementary school plays of One Piece arcs put on by kids.
yeah.
It'd be great. I can't go drunk though. They'd probably kick me out.
Yeah.
They'd probably kick me out anyway because I'm
Yeah,
not
I was-
related to anyone.
I'm here to see the One Piece. What's next?
Magic Otters wants to know, when Jimbei officially joins the crew, can we start calling him Jimmy?
Yes.
He prefers James Bay.
It's better than Michael Bay.
Jimmy. Cowardly,
Room down.
you and all your family.
James
Random
Bay.
Not a Fox. I'm going to pick one of these questions. Was the choice to pin the Tamate box explosion on the Straw Hats a convenient way to deflect the blame and future repercussions away from Fishman Island?
Perhaps.
Yeah, that's part of it, I think.
Yeah.
That is one of the purposes that it serves from a story perspective.
I think it's just to put more onus on the Straw Hat pirates at the end of the day. Like, they did this, they did this. Oh, they also did this. Yeah. I think that's more story-wise what he was going for, but I think that's definitely accurate. What's next? Yeah.
Cfron says, speaking of Jimbei, I have been an anime fan for a very long time, but I've never been a figure guy. Always thought they were either too expensive or the cheaper ones were too cheap, plus the risks of knockoffs, etc. That said, then I found this figure of Jimbei due out next month and fell in love immediately. I'm willing to dish out the dough for it. Is there any easy way for me to purchase this figure in America and not have to worry about getting a bootleg? And it looks like this is the Portrait of Pirates One Piece Sa Maximum Knight of the Sea Jimbei.
Yes.
Kelly, go for it.
Yeah.
So there's a couple spots that you can go. A lot of them do end up on the Crunchyroll store, so I would start there to check. Sometimes they appear a little bit later than some of the Japanese sites, but they're always a good location. The Portrait of Pirates don't usually show up on AmiAmi, which is one I direct a lot of people to. But you can go to Premium Bandai, and you can either use one of their preferred proxy buyers that's already built onto the site, or you can go through a proxy buyer yourself and get the figures. So I use Premium Bandai a lot for those. And that's actually one of the only spots right now that also has that awesome Sanji with the red cape, because it hasn't really hit a lot of the non-Japan stores just yet.
Oh, there you go. Some very valuable advice as far as tracking one of those down. So we'll go on to Hockey Scooch, who says, I think I found a word spelled wrong on the last page of the manga. When Luffy is going Gear 4, shouldn't it be Gear 4 Snape, not Snake? Like Professor Snape from Harry Potter. Lamau, just kidding, but that would be hilarious.
Is that how you pronounce that?
Okay, J.K. Rowling, enough with the retcons. There's no Snape in One Piece.
Yeah. Is that it?
Hatem H, what do you think
No.
Smoothie's fruit is? So we know she wrings juice out of people. How does she get bigger? Some people are saying she might have a sponge fruit, and that is how she got herself bigger in the last chapter.
Guys,
That's
it's
a good idea.
No, it's in her name. She's a fruit smoothie, a devil fruit smoothie. She had many devil fruits and mixed it all together into some weird combination.
Oh God, I would love if
She
that
would
was it.
explode.
Is this My Hero Academia?
Her name is Smoothie, so she would be able to deal with it. It's in her name, Steve. Don't question it.
Okay, that's good. That's a really interesting SBS question. Is if someone took a bunch of devil fruits and blended them into a smoothie,
Yes, that's a good
breaking them
Very
down
bad.
to practically microscopic little specks.
Now we know what we're asking Oda if we ever meet him. That's
Yeah,
the
there you
first
go.
question.
And at a microscopic level, whichever tiny little bit of devil fruit touched their tongue first. No,
Well, then the
Would they have to-
second piece would
they
kill
have
them.
to swallow it. They would have to swallow it, right?
Yeah.
Or is it bite?
No,
is it the
it's-
bite or the swallowing?
Wait, this is a
That
good
like
question.
ingesting of the fruit.
That's question 1A, 1B.
Someone's gonna comment on this episode and it's like, "Oh, you idiot! It's you already answered this in volume like 38 in the SBS." Oh God.
What's the next question?
All right, let's. I'm gonna skip down some more, get some shorter ones. Weekend at Wanzei's. If you were competing on
I've heard this one before, but still.
If you were competing on Nickelodeon's Double Dare Splat, which One Piece characters would you want on your team? P.S. I predict there have been 0 Simpsons references by the time you read this question. Well, you are dead wrong on that one.
That's the worst prediction I've ever heard.
Do you ever get tired of being wrong all the time?
Oh, no, come back. Worst prediction. That was an asshole. I'm sorry. So Double Dare Splat, not Double Dare 2000? Okay. Well,
Sorry,
I
didn't know there were multiple Double Dares.
Yeah, I only know of the 2. Family Double Dare.
There's the basic bitch knowledge trivia round. I would say Nami, but Nami probably wouldn't want to get.
Robin.
Would Robin be okay with going, with picking
would.
a flag out of like a nose filled with slime?
Of course she
I
would.
think so.
Yeah.
Okay.
Robin is unflappable.
I don't know. She doesn't like gross or weird things sometimes. Like
Yeah.
with
No,
Chopper.
she doesn't like embarrassing things like gattai.
Yeah. She wouldn't want to
Yeah.
have to like do something embarrassing, but then you wouldn't do.
Well, there was when they got to Shibondi and she touched the ground and it was all soapy and sticky. She wiped it on Usopp's shorts.
But she
so.
didn't seem like disgusted by it. I think she's just like, let me just get rid of this from my hand right now.
I think Usopp would do the speed run. So I think he's definitely.
Yeah, Usopp would be great. Usopp and Robin actually would be both great.
You normally have a Double Dare team 4. I think 4.
Luffy, because he would just go for anything.
No, Luffy would just punch the entire
Obstacle course.
obstacle.
Is that bad?
And, yeah, that is bad. You have
I
to.
don't think Mark Summers would like that.
Mark Summers, a germaphobe.
Yes, I've met him.
Oh, you have?
I have.
I'm guessing he didn't shake your hand.
No, and I'm a germaphobe too, so it was perfect.
Have you met Howie Mandel too?
No.
It's like
We don't have germaphobe meetings, Zach.
Wait, do germaphobes have to be hosts of game shows? Is that like a requirement?
Oh, God.
I don't know.
How about why don't we answer the question we were asked? I'd say Usopp. Are we? Is it anybody in One Piece?
Yeah.
All right. While he thinks about that, can we go to the next question?
Oh yeah, this reminds me of the pizza question from last week. I'm like, oh man, there's so many great answers, and you answered like one, and you're like, okay, all right, come on, we got to move it on.
Yeah, Zach was in a real rush to get past that question.
How dare you not answer for Ace? How dare you not say that the pizza that best describes Ace was obviously the flaming hot Cheetos pizza?
What's the next question?
Brave Sabo wants to know, how would you react if Katakuri ended up winning the fight?
That's not gonna happen.
Snake Man fucking sucks.
Yeah. What's next?
Yeah, that sums
I
it
don't know.
up.
Yep. Zalumi says, Solid D Snake has arrived in One Piece. If Luffy is the snake and Katakuri is the pelican eel, is Oda trying to say that snakes and eels would be mortal enemies? Keep up the great work, OPP crew.
I feel like they're more
Unless-
allies than anything. Yeah.
Unless Katakuri makes a mongoose out of mochi.
Yeah. Okay. One more here from Max Dexter. I'm trying to figure out the last bunch of Charlottes of the family tree. There are still 19 boys and 18 girls completely unknown. Searching for notable people in the background as the wiki updated the page for the Charlottes with a close-up of Raisin from a past episode, so some characters would pop out of the panels. I found in chapter 836, which is the page where King Baum shows up, Burleigh referring to Cracker as brother. Did she use that word that would indicate if he's older or younger than her? I guess this is some inside baseball. I only use the word brother for older, or brother or sister for older siblings, because that's how they do it in Japanese. It's, they have to use the Nissan or the Nason or whatever to show respect. And so I just translate it directly as brother so-and-so or sister so-and-so. But if they are younger, then they just say the name. So there you go.
That's it for Reddit?
That's it for Reddit.
All right, let's do some Ed.
Peace the treasure.
What do we have this week on Twitter?
This week we have first from Elvergun, who says, after reading Rayleigh's comments on Luffy's ability this week, it makes me think that Jinbei saw this in Luffy before. When they were in front of Capone and Jinbei asked Luffy, can we trust him? Luffy stared and said, yes, we can. Huh.
Cool.
Maybe. It's food for thought there.
What's next?
Yeah.
Next one comes from Donnie T. Says, oh, that's unfortunate. Based on reactions I'm seeing to Whole Cake Island, has there ever been an arc that you really enjoyed and loved that your friends or fans you interacted really didn't like or downright hated?
Skypiea.
Skypiea and the Davy Back fights. I
The-
enjoy, but fans.
Oh,
really
Davey, yeah,
don't.
geez, Davey back all the way.
Team Backfight is so fun. I love that from the beginning, but I did not like Skypiea the first time around, but that really benefited from rewatch.
Yeah,
Or
someone asked earlier about characters that we've went back and felt better about. Skypiea is definitely the arc I've went back and felt better about. I did not like it when I first read it.
Sometimes I get flack for liking Alabasta. I'm just like,
That's bizarre.
Yeah.
that's like saying that's like talking Star Wars and someone's like, you like New Hope? Like, you mean Star Wars? The movie
Yeah.
that started all of this, Star Wars.
We should. No, that's not. I'm gonna get into. A whole
I mean,
other
it's not
tangent.
like Alabasta started One Piece, but Alabasta was the first big story arc. And does it have flaws? Yeah, but you probably only watched it in the anime.
What's the next question, Ed?
Next one comes from Fanboy Sins, who says, hello, Lean guys. Want to know where our mirror lady is? She's hidden away, then it mostly confirms Luffy's win. So I guess, Katakuri wouldn't be able to come out of the mirror world without her. P.S. I want for Katakuri to win. Is this normal? Help?
You may want him to win, but Luffy is the main character. Please root for the main character.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ed?
Yep. Next one comes from Storysmith says, been thinking about this for a while, but now that it appears that Katakuri has Conqueror's Haki, does this sort of set a precedent that all right-hand men will have Conqueror's Haki? And if so, does this mean Zoro might get it as well?
I kind of hope he does. Is that wrong of me?
Is Katakuri the right-hand man?
Well, he's the
Well, he's-
highest.
He's the toughest.
He's the toughest of the.
He's the
Big
toughest.
Mom Pirates.
Yeah.
Especially for fighters.
Mm.
It seems like it would be that way. That they all would. Because otherwise, how do you get to be at the top of a brutal like pirate world without having it's unfortunately kind of like being, you must be this much of a Super Saiyan to be a main character.
Yeah.
Um,
yeah.
But
Mm.
I mean, that's just the way strong people are in this world, I think, and we're at the end of the story now, so we can't really go back on that. Fortunately, it probably isn't going to get any more so than this. Like, these are the emperors; these are the strongest people. in the
I
world.
have a
Like,
question. Do you think everyone in the One Piece in the Straw Hat crew would have Conqueror's Haki, or a large percentage, or more than just Zoro?
Mm,
Hmm.
no.
You don't think
No.
the monster trio will all get it?
When I say in the future, I could even mean like when they're all older and like in their 50s or 60s if they make it that far.
There's an aspect of being like a leader and having that sort of charisma. I don't know
Yeah.
if Sanji necessarily has that intimidation factor.
Usopp
Mhm.
does. I kind of I wish we could see Usopp as a grizzled old man in like 70 years with Conqueror's Haki for some reason. What's next?
Oh, he's got. All right. Next one comes from Trick the TM, who says, "Is it just me, or does Snack look like a Tantata riding on something else? Kate Sith style. I don't know what that is.
Oh, from Final Fantasy.
Final Fantasy Cat Sith, yeah.
Ah,
Is a little cat riding on. Big,
I see. I see.
And
Yeah.
yes, I think so.
That'd be pretty great if that's what it's like. But in the silhouette, it's definitely got that like that weird little like hair ornament thing with the where it's like a needle and you stick it through the bun and then
Mhm.
there's dangling stuff. So I don't know. I feel like it's probably his hair, but we'll see.
Yeah. Next one comes from Ghost Starch. Says, do you think the Big Mom pirates could pressure Morgans into publishing fake news in order to save face? The world government would get the real scoop via Stussy, so the bounties of the Straw Hats get raised anyway. Well, then what kind of is the point of that? Like,
He doesn't
Well,
publish fake
well,
news.
yeah. Well, I guess they would try to get him to do it to save, PR for the family, like to maintain their power, I guess.
No, the Morgans is obviously the only pressure he has is from the world government. I don't really think he gives a shit about what Big Mom says. I think he was at Big Mom's wedding because this was a big news event, and he is Big News Morgans. I don't see it. A good newsman who is a propagandist of the government does not get pressured by anyone except for the government. So, yeah, there you go.
Next one comes from Quick Quest. Says, do you think we are going to get a smaller Search for Marco arc before we get to Wano? Possibly the only natural way we could get his backstory.
I think there'd be a revolt if that was the case.
A
fan revolt.
Sorry, I'm not a woman. Sorry, I
Wait.
rephrase that.
Since when?
I'm every woman. I'm not a fangirl. I don't care for Marco.
Put it on a cover page.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
that's a good cover story.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
His backstory is he was with the Whitebeard Pirates. I don't care.
And Steve, you are a fangirl for Sanji, so let's just be clear here.
Yeah,
Dellinger.
but
And Dellinger.
yeah, Dellinger.
Yeah.
But I'm not. But I've never clamored and said I gotta know his backstory.
But would you be disappointed if you found it out?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Would I be disappointed if he did get a backstory?
Yes.
I'd be perplexed.
What's next, Ed?
Arch Cools wants to point out that Jinbei looks like a Goomba, a blue Goomba with a scar on his face. So he sent a picture of that. Thank you, Steven.
It does.
His name is also Steven.
Okay.
Next one comes from Anime Lover 1491, who has the same question about Brule getting out of the mirror.
Yeah, I assume she's in there because that's the only way Luffy got in there in the first place. So I'm sure we'll see. What's next?
91 Ryan has a question. It looks like Smoothie has a fruit that's opposite of the mini fruit from the anime. Although she can juice things, so that doesn't make sense. Yeah, we don't know anything about really Smoothie's power.
Yeah, we're all at a loss.
Maybe someone hit her with an unshrinking ray.
All right, Logic Wizard would like someone to help explain the pudding hater point of view. Why do some people hate pudding?
I don't hate her. I'm just kind of. I don't care. I just don't care.
I hate her.
Well, we all know why you hate her, Kelly.
No.
but-
I hate her because she's sadistic and she didn't have to go that far.
I think people don't like her because it's kind of like a shit or get off the pot kind of thing. It's
Yeah.
like be evil or be good. Like
Yeah.
I think people don't like the
I just don't
Wishy-washy.
care.
I don't know. I've liked her ever since she sort of made up her mind. I like her now, but
Yeah,
I
me
also I'm afraid of her bullshit powers that I don't understand and don't want to have to
Factor
Try-
into
because they don't make sense and they can work any way Oda wants them to. So it's worrying about it is like worrying if the sun is going to come up.
Yeah.
Next question comes from Joey Cobalt. Says, think about this. If news spread that Big Mom tried to kill the other family at the wedding, I imagine most people would evade getting engaged to the family so they could live. On that note, what pirate crew or family would you like to see marry into the Big Mom family? Walpole.
Yeah.
I think that would turn into a confrontation pretty quick. Who could eat it would be an eating contest every week.
That might be that might end up being her true love then. They got so much in common.
Oh my god.
Marry Big Mom.
Yeah. But no, two big eaters together. That sounds like a bad idea. Imagine the bill at restaurants. What's next?
All right, coming to the end of it here. Our very own Brian Newton, Dark King Zoro on Twitter, says that Charlotte Brownie, his name is actually Pot Brownies, and that's why he's lazy. Who wants brownies?
That'll do it, I think. Yeah.
No, there's one more actually good question from Stacy Chen, who says, has social media transformed how you read and enjoy One Piece? Is avoiding spoilers something those who read with Shonen Jump have to live with?
It's something that we on the podcast have to.
Very
honestly,
true.
I don't these days. I've managed to curate my Twitter that it almost never like.
Well, that's you who does not run the One Piece podcast account.
Well, that's true.
Yeah.
It's actually easier. It's easier than ever before because the spoilers come out later and
Yes.
the fake scanlated chapters come out later.
Yeah, I'd say this is. I think things have gotten increasingly better over time. When there
What's
were
the point when chapters came out on Wednesdays?
when there were only scans, people just didn't care, and they would tell you immediately, even before chapters came out. Then, when things were 2 weeks behind with Alpha, for those who remember, obviously there'd be a ton of spoilers there. And I think someone's been cracking down on scanlators because it went from Wednesdays to Thursdays. I think I hear it's on Fridays now, or later. So that's pretty good news. If you have to wait until
Way to
Friday,
advertise that.
but no, this is where I'm going with this. If you're waiting until Friday or Saturday or Sunday to read it, just wait until Monday. It's really, at that point, it's just a weekend. Go outside, do something. Unless you're in Minneapolis or in Minnesota with Sam, then stay inside and play a video game or something. But don't read it for a couple days. That's all I'm saying. Anyway, we're gonna round off. We have some trivia and a little bit more. So, you guys ready?
Sure.
You say it's
Why we're here?
Damn it. This has been the One Piece Podcast, episode 506 for February 12th, 2018. We're going to be back on President's Day. That's February 19th, this coming Monday. We'll probably have our episode a little bit early that day, so fingers crossed on that. We'll be covering chapter 895. Ed, do you know the next episode number? I forgot what the anime episode number was already.
Oh, that's 826.
Okay, so we'll be doing that. Thank you for that. And piece together and all that fun stuff. But before we go, how could the good people out there contact you guys? Kelly?
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Karuri, and you can find me writing articles on OnePiecePodcast.com.
Very special guest, Stephen Paul.
Hey, yes, you can follow me on Twitter at Translatosaurus.
I want to give a shout out to Greg, who came for our manga recap. You can find him at Ochimusha108. He has a YouTube channel. Please check that out as well. I believe it's the same handle on YouTube.
But with a 0, I think.
I think it's with a 0, yeah. Either way, you could find the link on Greg's page. He has articles that come out every month, every 2 weeks, on the official One Piece website. That's one-piece.com. I think it's /special/Greg. So check that out. Those are in English and Japanese, depending on your preference. And please check out Miles at MilesExpress999 on Twitter and on Crunchyroll.com. You may have heard of it. Steve, where can people find you?
You can find me on Twitter, Instagram, Tumblr. It's Steve Yurko, all one word. And you can find me in person if you happen to be going to KatsuCon this weekend in National Harbor, Maryland. I'll be in Arts Alley, table E2, and I'll also be at Emerald City Comic Con in Seattle at the beginning of March.
And Ed, where could the good people out there contact us?
You are Zach_Logan on Twitter. I am Edward E. One Piece. The podcast can be found at OnePiecePodcast.com, Twitter.com, YouTube.com, and Facebook.com/OnePiecePodcast. OnePiecePodcast@gmail.com is our email address. One Piece Podcast is our Skype name. Please support us, Patreon.com/OnePiecePodcast. Well, there was a lot of good bloopers and
Exclusives,
exclusive talk on this episode.
This one especially, yes. That'll come out at the very end of the month. We'll have some pretty long exclusive Patreon episodes, so look forward to that.
So the podcast, you can subscribe on SoundCloud, subscribe on Google Play, subscribe on TuneIn Radio, subscribe, rate, and review on Apple Podcasts, or call us on our phone number, Zach.
That phone number is 347-497-MAJI. That phone, no one? That phone number.
That's why we're here.
Number again is 347-497-6254. Call anytime.
Anytime.
Thank you, Ed. Ed still is so skeptical about them calling it Apple Podcasts, and it's been a while at this point. He's been saying it's Apple Podcasts. So we have some trivia. I made this one super hard because Greg was going to be here, but Greg is not here.
Oh no!
So let's see. I think you guys could do this. I'm just going to give you a little more hint as to what we're going to actually be doing than I would have if Greg were also here. So, you may remember we've covered this chapter and the following chapter a bunch on the podcast. Chapter 233, The World's Greatest Power. Can anyone here remember what that covers exactly?
Is that that's the roundtable meeting? Yeah, with Doflamingo
Kuma and Doflamingo.
Well, this is so the one right before the actual roundtable meeting, where you go through a bunch of different scenes. But you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to open it up. That chapter and the roundtable chapter include a huge cast of characters. I want you guys to name all the named characters that at least I would be able to name. Let me put it that way. You know, the main characters, or secondary or tertiary characters that are in these two chapters, 233 and 234. The World's Greatest Power and Please Remember are the titles of those chapters. So, the order this time will be Stephen, Kelly.
Actually, shouldn't I go first? Because I only did one this week. One page.
You know, fine. Ed, Stephen, Kelly, and Steve.
I have a question.
Yes.
This is the rule, and I want to ask just because I want to be fair. Is it cheating to write down all the names that have been said?
Yes, that is cheating.
Okay.
Yes.
I just want to know.
I believe that counts as cheating because one of the things you kind of have to be able to do is not say what someone else has said because that would eliminate you. We're going to begin, Ed. Ready to go?
Zach does have a point.
Sure.
Yeah.
I'm ready.
After you.
Monkey D. Luffy.
That's a good way to start. What was the order? Steven.
Doflamingo.
Yep. Kelly, sorry.
Is Buggy in that one with the cave?
Yep.
Cool.
Steve.
Kuma.
Yep. Ed.
Roronoa Zoro.
Don't have to say the full name. Bragging. Sure. Steven.
Tsuru.
Yep. Kelly.
Kuma?
That was said already.
Oh, was it?
Yep.
Yeah.
And that is why you're not allowed to write it down. Steve.
Sengoku.
Yep. Ed.
Sanji.
No.
Really? Oh wow.
Not that. No. Remember, he was back at the campsite with.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Steven.
Okay.
Kabaji.
Yep. Steve. It's the battle of
Moji.
the Steves. Yep.
Moji.
Steven.
The boss man, the leader of the
Yeah.
tunnel excavators.
Yeah, I'm only counting that because he was on the cover of volume 20.
Exactly. Yeah, you got that.
I wrote it down. I wrote it
Didn't
down.
your shirt say Boss Man?
Did it?
I think. I wrote Workman.
Yeah.
But it's fine.
I had no idea the big boss man was.
Steve.
One Piece. Lafitte.
Oh shit, that's a good one.
Steven. There's a ton more.
There's a ton more. The thing is, I don't remember the other scenes in these chapters.
Steven.
Ace, is he
Yep.
in it?
Steve.
Yes, that's a good one. Whitebeard.
Yep.
Ah,
Steven.
Rockstar.
Yep. Steve.
Oh, who could forget? Let's see. Bellamy.
Yep. Steven.
Mm. Oh man. Is Sengoku in it?
I was said already.
That already.
But Steve, you have to get this.
Can I keep going?
You have to get this right. Yeah, one more.
Okay. I feel like I should play it easy. Alvita.
Yeah.
May I
Any others
continue?
you can name? Yeah, go for it.
Sure.
So Or Shoujo Mishira in the chapter?
I don't know who that is.
It's the ape guys.
Yeah.
No,
Sarayama.
they weren't. No, they weren't in the chapter.
Okay.
Steve.
All right. It's because I remember because here's the thing. Here's why I won, because those were the early episodes of the Funimation dub. I watched those a ton.
Steve. So yeah, can you name the rest?
They played the Buggy and Ace scene much earlier.
Steve, just name the rest.
Zarkis.
Yes.
Blackbeard.
Yes.
Burgess.
Yes.
Doc Q.
Yes.
God, what's their fourth? Oh,
Stronger.
Stronger. Van Auger.
But yeah.
Van Auger or Ogre. Man, I want to get into hard mode here. I do know that, and this doesn't count as an answer, but one of the I think he's a vice admiral. He has a mustache.
Yeah, I don't know his name though.
And he's getting he's being controlled by Doflamingo.
Yes.
But he's in Marineford and he does have a name. I just wanted to mention that bit of trivia. I'm trying to think of
You're missing some huge ones.
Cricket.
Nope.
No, Cricket doesn't show up.
So Steve, you're out, even though you were fighting yourself there. The remaining ones here are Nami, Richie, the Five Elder Stars, Mihawk, Shanks, Lucky Roo, Ben Beckman, and Yasa.
I totally forgot about Mihawk.
Plus that drunk guy who holds the bounty poster. Well,
yeah.
I
like the thing. If I could remember all of those scenes, then you would have really gone through the whole list over and over. But
now for bonus donut,
what about,
what is special for bonus donut? What is special about chapter 233? I'll give you a hint. Steven, unless you could get it. Or
is that the one where the cover is black?
Yeah, why is it black?
Yeah. Because
his friend died.
Was it? Right? Shingagin died.
See, I thought it was because it was the same amount of chapters in Dragon Ball too. Wasn't that the?
No, that's more.
That's higher. Okay.
Toriyama. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
That would mean that each volume of Dragon Ball had like 5 chapters.
Yeah, fair point. Okay, that's gonna be.
I did know that. Yeah, that was supposed to be a tribute to a death. I just didn't know which one. What about the rest of the Bellamy Pirates? Like, was Rivers in that?
They might have been in the background. I don't remember the name of all of them, which is kind of why I made that.
Oh, no, Rivers was the one with the Bubs who was voiced by Patrick Seitz, right?
Okay, guys, we're going to end this podcast.
Correct. You just won my trivia round, Ed.
We'll see we'll see you guys next week with a lot more trivia, I'm sure. My name is Zach.
Bye. My name is Ed.
I like this idea of counter trivia. Competing trivias, dueling banjos.
Only I could do it.
My name is Steve, and I must say, I think I'm a Triple Crown winner now.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
I'm a special guest.
Sometimes, Ed, you just get raisins in your Halloween candy. That's Cacao Town.